with my gavel in person. All right, we are going to start this off with citizens' comments. Is anybody here? First of all, if you have not signed in yet, please do. And if it does is anybody here for just some general citizens' comments? No. Okay. We can't move on to any public hearings until later, so we could do perhaps some minutes.
Do we have minutes?
Do we have minutes?
We have one set of minutes, March 8th.
No minutes.
Regular meeting minutes, March 8th.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve March 8, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Frank. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
This is approve the minutes.
Okay. Those minutes are approved. That's excellent. Let's see, what else might we,
Meeting confirmation,
well,
that's the only thing.
right, and you know what, we've got a couple minutes. I don't think it's gonna take long. Why don't we talk about, I just wanted to bring it up about the meeting frequency for the planning board, only because when I first started, we were always second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. We hit COVID, we moved to one meeting a month, which made total sense. I just wanted to bring it up to the board for discussion as to whether, now that we're really moving forward and in fact the state of emergency is being called off May 11th, as to whether we want to move back to that other schedule or if we're happy with one meeting.
So I'm okay with the 2 meetings as long as if you have an agenda item. If there is no agenda items, we should stick to the 1 meeting. There is no point in having 2 meetings. Even today, we don't have any agenda item.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we have
Want
some,
two meetings?
I think we have some agenda.
If at all, what I'm trying to say is, I'm okay with 2 meetings if you have an agenda
If
item.
we're able to cancel, I think is what
Like, we have it
is,
posted as needed.
what is what we're saying.
Yeah, that's about it.
Right, but we wanna plan for 1 meeting a month, and if we need a second one, that's what we schedule.
We can call for it.
Right,
Gotcha. I like that.
right.
Okay? Everybody
that's
okay
good.
with that?
Like if somebody needs another meeting, it's not an emergency meeting, it'll just be the second meeting in a month.
Good,
Right.
right. So, where I'm going with that is that then for those of us who are members to be expecting to have that space cleared on your calendar in case it is needed,
Okay.
right?
Even now, if you'd have called for it, we will be there.
Right, if it's that, I mean, hopefully if it's that far, that's really what I'm trying to say, it's just that, I mean, sometimes it's very hard to organize
Second
a
and fourth, right.
special meeting
Second and fourth.
that is not on that normal cadence. But I think, so, for those of us who work in businesses with many meetings, it's always easier to cancel a meeting than it is to make a meeting
get people
from
to-
scratch, right?
Gotcha.
So, that would be,
If you need a vote, no?
well, I don't know that we necessarily need to vote, we didn't vote to go to just one meeting.
That's okay.
We went to one meeting because we went to one
Because that's all we
meeting,
need.
that was all we
Right.
needed.
And I would probably wanna keep the web notice that we meet the second Wednesday of the month. Plan for that, that's how it goes, and if there's a real need to go to the 4th, we can do that, but I still wanna keep it
And also,
once.
in this meeting, we know it, how many petitions are going to come, or how many applications are going to be there. Is it call for some of this site plan reviews, this and that. So we could always have a second meeting, no problem.
Okay,
Saying the same thing.
all right,
Perfect.
sounds great, okay, good, I'm glad that we had that discussion
And it went to exactly 5 pounds.
and it went exactly 5 minutes, perfect. Okay, so the public hearing for Shrine Avenue, do we open it
No,
and
this
then
is a
close it?
continued, right? Is
No,
it
it's not
continued?
continued.
No.
This would have been opened, but it was withdrawn by the applicant before we open it, so I am,
We need to.
We don't have
so I
to,
don't think we have to do
it's
anything.
been withdrawn.
Don't you think we have to open it and close it and then make a decision?
I don't think so. I think they've withdrawn, so it's
We
a
don't have
done
to do
deal.
anything.
Yeah, they submitted documentation, there was an email that
But
says they're withdrawing.
this one was posted as a public hearing.
It was, and,
It was withdrawn
the
before it
public hearing
happened,
is
then.
scheduled for tonight, but we don't need a public hearing because there's nothing to discuss because he's withdrawn his application.
Right.
We
So-
can listen to
Yes,
questions
we're
or
happy,
something
to yeah,
from the
happy to
public,
take,
but
happy
it's
to
not
take
a
some
public hearing.
questions. Right, right,
Okay.
okay, so, yes,
Then how do we grab fork of or? I'm in a butter, so I just wanna make sure and be clear on, what does that mean? Does that mean he cannot build? What is?
At this time, he cannot build anything other than a 4-bedroom condo.
For you,
He's allowed, he
He's
doesn't
got
have to come,
9 units.
he doesn't have to come to the planning board for 4 units or less. He has to come before us for more than 4 units. That's how he got the other one in, is that it was a 4-unit or less.
9 units. This one was,
So he can build 4 units now?
It's possible that he can build 4
Right.
units without coming back to the planning board.
he can go to the building inspector, and the building inspector, by rights, he can allow it.
So he can still build.
Yes.
well,
Well,
he's gotta get a building permit, and he's gotta do other things, but.
right, right. There might be other applicable things going on there, but it just doesn't have
And
to
he
come
doesn't have to go to the planning.
here.
We're only, our trigger
Bypass
is,
you guys.
Well, no, I mean, he could come back with the exact same plan and then go to us again. I mean, it's possible, not right now, though. That's what he's saying, is that he's not gonna
What-
do that right now.
And right now means when?
Well,
He
he took
cannot
back
read
his,
his mind.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, he with, the application was withdrawn. The engineer reported that his understanding was that with the costs of construction and things that were going on, that it was not worth it to do that project as it was submitted, so.
So he,
maybe,
I'm just wondering time,
And
when he
what?
can come back.
well,
he could come back next week.
yeah, he could come
Sure.
back. It's not that we like rejected the thing or that something made it so it was not not buildable. That didn't happen. He decided he didn't wanna build it.
Right.
So he could come back with the same plan and try to do it again. That's all I want you to understand. You know?
Still gotta watch him.
Yeah,
Well,
Why don't,
Hold on, I'm sorry, what's your name and address, please?
Sean Norton, 31 Helen Drive,
Okay,
why don't they designate areas or an area to take care of low-income building? Rather than taking it and putting it into somebody's backyard, that, say someone's got a $400,000 house, and all of a sudden you got something that's 150,000 times 4 or 8 or whatever, your property value goes down $150,000. So why don't they, okay, go buy a 22-acre stretch and build it to your heart's content, rather than going into someone's backyard and putting these things and letting riprap come in and then ruining everybody's property value. For what?
through the chair.
yes, please.
It's a complicated question.
There's a lot to it, but when you just brought up the idea of a $400,000 house, the market rates, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the market rate units in these affordable complexes that are being discussed in the town are about $400,000. So we're not getting riffraff. We've got people who are town employees who are not paid enough to afford the low-income housing. So it's not like a project, like the old days, the Worcester old days. You don't end up getting riffraff. There are some times when you get different buyers, people are not what you're used to, but it's not that they're poor.
Right. And this particular project wasn't in as an
Yeah,
affordable,
right.
Yeah,
this
is-
particular
this is
project
market
was
rate.
not in as affordable housing project, so,
So this was a market rate proposal, at least to us. He could come back, he's a developer, he has the right to build in compliance with the zoning.
And he built one on Shrine, and it was right next to a vernal pool. He was supposed to stay out of the vernal pool. He didn't stay out of the vernal pool. He dredged the vernal pool, and he turned it in from an 8x8 vernal pool to a 30x30 vernal pool. And he took all the material out of there and who knows what he did with it, but he wasn't supposed to do that.
Correct.
So.
And the situation
and
is,
that property abuts that vernal pool, so what's gonna happen with all that?
yeah, this property actually was part of that other parcel. He split the two up. And
Right.
the situation as an abutter, what I would recommend you do is pay attention to the Conservation Commission's hearings and notices. Because the Conservation Commission is the one agent in town where if they have a permit currently, or an order of conditions, I think they got it for the current project, which I'm not exactly sure how, but they got approval from the Conservation Commission. Members of the public and the abutters should be aware that the Conservation Commission has to review things and make sure the drainage works, which I hear on this project was one of the comments that VHB made, is one of the difficult conditions that was put on this project. It doesn't matter that it comes before us or the Conservation Commission, it's the same regulation, so it should apply to both. Just be aware that the Conservation Commission is gonna hear this if he changes it from whatever he has, a 9-unit proposal, and brings it down to 4. He bypasses the planning board, he doesn't the Conservation Commission or the building inspector, but those two agents of the town should be reviewing this to make sure that everything is done appropriately.
But the conservation already approved them, they didn't fight them, so.
Well, but that's why you need to be, as a butters, you can ask the questions and find out
Yeah.
what the science
We've been
is.
down that road. Didn't
So
help us.
again, that project has to, even though the Conservation Commission approved it, that project has to go to our building inspector.
Right.
You can always talk to the building inspector, always, hey, how are you approving it?
Right, and you can also appeal the Conservation Commission's decisions, not now, but there's, I think, a 10-day appeal period on those, or 20-day appeal period on the Conservation Commission's decision. Then it goes to DEP, who will actually implement the regulations, if you believe it's not being implemented at the Conservation Commission. So that's something to be aware of. It's-
So we just gotta watch that if he comes back to build the 4 units, he's gonna go to the building inspector, so that's what I gotta watch for, right?
Building
Us as a
inspector
neighbor,
and conservation.
I'm representing the
He's
neighbor.
changing the conservation proposal, because he
Right.
got approval for
He
9.
still has to go to
He
conservation,
has to go back and get an amended order of conditions.
but he already passed it, so I don't see that he'll have.
But then you can appeal the amended order of conditions to DEP if there's some reason that you believe it's not appropriate. And you have to give justification to DEP for them to investigate.
Yeah, we've been kinda down that road, okay. It didn't help.
Okay. Other questions about this one? Yep.
Cindy Norton, 31 Helen Drive, born and raised in West Boylston at 31 Helen Drive. Recently moved back. So the land that the house that he knocked down, the residential property, that where there's residential housing, he can take that lot that was allotted for one house and put 4 on it
No,
without permission? No?
no,
Okay.
that's not his land,
Oh, it's not.
no,
His is more in?
that's a golf course.
Okay.
Yeah, he won't, he can't build that, right? Am I correct?
I don't
I don't know what.
I'm not sure who owns what, but it's
Yep.
allowed to have a
What's the golf
4
course
unit,
people's name?
you're allowed to have 4 units, a 4-unit house in a general residence, but not in a single residence district. I don't know what the zoning is here, but they need, do you know,
He
I
doesn't
can
own,
look it up if
he
you want.
doesn't own that land, the guy, what's the name?
Sorry.
Maroney's. The
Forgot,
Maroney's own it.
this is a new feature.
Who is speaking now?
The Maroney's own that property where they took down the house. The Maroney's told me that they won't.
Very good, thank you.
New, sorry, I should have told everybody, new feature for, in-person meetings here is that when you're speaking, please speak into the microphone so it can pick up
Okay.
the television recording.
I don't know how you know if it's on.
Hello? Green light.
And you get-
Hello?
So I guess it doesn't make
We're
it
not gonna
louder
talk
for
about
us,
it.
it's
It's not a-
making,
it's-
it's
it's
just
going to the
picking it,
record.
it's just picking it up.
Just, yeah, for the recording and broadcast.
Oh, for the recording. Okay.
Yes.
I think it's the Maroney's that own that property and they don't want to sell to Joe. So that's not a concern of mine. It's behind it that's got so many issues. We've been going on for about 2.5, 3 years now fighting them. So I thought maybe I was finally going to be able to relax a little bit, but now that I found out he went around you guys, so he can do 4
Yeah,
units.
We
he's
don't-
just pulled
we
his,
don't- we
he's
don't
pulled
know
his
what his
project back.
plans
He
are.
hasn't done anything
Right,
else. as far
at
as I
all.
know.
No, we
have
don't,
no
we
idea what his
don't,
plans
but
are.
you know he'll come back, you know Joe. I'm just saying.
Okay,
I was just gonna relax a little bit and tell all my neighbors they could relax, but we can't, okay.
all right. Any other comments on the Shrine Avenue public hearing that is not in fact happening? Okay, great. Let's move on to our next public hearing. That is only a short amount of time later, although, well, I guess we should go ahead with it.
Is it,
It's
Did we
officially
set a
public
time?
hearing. Yeah, we set it for 7:10.
so we can't open it?
No, we can't open it, it's after.
I get the
We
glare.
can open it. It's after
Oh, yeah,
7:10.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're,
7:15.
it's 7:15, yeah, we got plenty of time.
We can open
It's
it.
after 7:10.
Yes, yeah, no, we're good.
We can always open them late.
That's where I was going, was like, I think, we've got people here for other items,
So we can do that even
but I
later.
don't know if we can,
We could delay it.
Sure.
But typically, it's a public hearing, there are people here for for that public hearing, I think.
are there folks here for the public hearing about the West Boylston zoning laws that we're looking to? Okay, great, all right, that's excellent. Then we can go ahead and open
All
it.
right.
Open it, we have.
Can we read the?
What did happen to the microphone?
We need to
Can we
pass it
pass
up, please.
that back up here?
Do you want me to, do you want this to be the notice? I'll read the whole thing out. For public hearing?
I think,
Thank you.
yes,
this
do we have to, yeah, we have
I'm
to.
gonna come and grab it.
Okay, who's opening the public hearing?
You open the
There
public
we
hearing.
Well,
No, you
I'll
open
read the
public
notice.
hearing and then he reads it.
okay, got it.
So
All
you-
right. We are hereby opening the public hearing for considering amending some West Boylston zoning bylaws, as going to be read out here.
So the following notice was posted, Planning Board, Town of West Boylston, notice of public hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5. The West Boylston Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 12th at 7:10 at the West Boylston Town Hall, 140 Worcester Street, West Boylston, Mass. 120, room 120 Land Use Meeting Room, first floor, to consider amending the West Boylston zoning bylaws as follows. 1. Section 1.4A, continuation of non-conforming uses, increase period of allowed discontinued use to 2 years to comply with state law. 2. Section 2.4, lots in 2 districts, no longer allow more restrictive uses to extend into less restrictive zoning districts. 3. Section 3.6.C.2.A, submittal of site plan, clarify plan scale and digital file, and reduce number of hard copies needed. Number 4, Section 3.6.E.8, stormwater management, grading and drainage, clarify reference to Mass DEP and NOAA rainfall data to be used in analysis. 5, Section 5.1, accessory use, limit the footprint of an accessory structure to be no more than 80% of the footprint of the primary structure on the lot, and prohibit storage container use, non-temporary, in residential districts by permit, and by permit in other districts. Section 4.3.g, habitable buildings per lot, clarify the definition of a habitable building to note that a trellis, roof line, buried foundation, or similar connection between the 2 buildings do not make it one building. Any interested person is invited to attend this meeting, at which time we will be given the opportunity to be heard. Sarah Miles, Chair, West Boylston Planning Board, and it ran on in the Telegram on March 29th, 2023, and April 5th, 2023.
Okay, I know that was a lot of them. Let's take them one by one, okay. Starting with number 1,
Excuse me, do you have copies of the changes?
Well,
Or copies of these?
this is what they are, they're not the actual changes, right?
this is not the actual changes.
That's not the wording, but that's the intent
Yeah.
of the changes.
So you don't have a copy of the proposed bylaw?
I have copies. You want- I'll go make a
Can I
couple.
make it a copy?
I'll make a couple
Yep.
copies.
Of what do you want, of this?
Can you make
No, not this isn't the actual wording. Yes, it would be great, Vinnie, please do, yes. That's okay. So, the first one, yeah, we'll wait. This is why it was easier on Zoom, because I could just bring it up and show it to you. And we could edit it in real time.
Email. What's he doing? What's the noise? That's a monster.
Yeah, I've sent these, there's a couple of these. There's a couple versions of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope this is the most current one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I did not bring it
Came
with
more
me,
short.
'cause that's okay.
We can
That's all right,
share.
I have,
We
the-
can share.
I have the clean anyway, right on my phone. So, the first one,
Oh, I thought you were on number 3.
nope, amend section 1.4 nonconformity, continuation of nonconforming uses. So, yeah, so has been, it's that it is 1 year versus 2, it's currently 1 year, and we're saying 2 years.
Currently in the bylaw, it says 1 year. According to state law, we're required to have 2 years, so whatever it says in the local bylaw, that 1 year is in the past, so it doesn't even matter what it says. So we wanna have that 2 year agree with, the state. We could put it 3 years if we wanted to, but it has to be at least 2. So we're correcting our bylaws.
Right.
So
Thoughts,
the
discussion?
consequences of this is that a person who moves into a building that has been used for 2 years, but it was a warehouse or a restaurant or something like that, may
So-
not have to do anything because they didn't change their use.
I can give you a perfect example for that. This is a.
But is that
closed
the case?
house.
Is that what this would change?
Yeah, there was a zoning board issue came before the board, few years back. Sterling Street, the Reservoir Motel. So that was discontinued less than 2 years. Whereas our zoning bylaw says, anything discontinued 1 year, it
It loses
lost
its use.
all the.
It loses its use, right, yeah, you
Yeah.
have to, yep. Yep,
But state law says 2 years. So state law supersedes local bylaws. So to fix that issue, aligned with the state law, so we are changing it to 2 year.
yep. Any thoughts, questions on that one? I think that's pretty
It's a
clear
very
cut.
simple one, just an administrative.
Yep,
Make
Just
it
very
to-
administrative.
Make it to similar to state law, that's it.
This was discussed years ago, I think. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, you know
We're
it,
trying to,
you
we're
know
trying
this
to,
very well, that's why
trying
I'm explaining it to you.
trying to clean it up. Okay, number 2, section 2.4, lots in 2 districts. So the current thing says that it has verbiage that says that, the regulations for the less restricted portion of such lot shall extend not more than 30 feet into the more restricted portion, provided the lot has a frontage on a street in the less restricted district. That's what the current verbiage says. And we are proposing, or what is being proposed here is that it shall just not extend into the more restricted portion, period, that end.
Right, so if you own a lot that's divided by a zoning district, so if you have like a general residence and single residence lot, and the line goes down the middle, you can only put the multifamily housing that's allowed in the general residence district, in the general residence district, and not, as it is written now, 30 feet into the other, that portion of the lot. So it's restricting it to just what's on the, just what's zoned for that, not allowing a little extra stretch.
We've actually discussed this a few times, so board members.
It's come up a few times.
Let's ask the
Have
residents.
anything, so I will open it to the public. Any comments on this one?
Reason, why not?
We ran into problems with a couple of lots where they were allowed to go to 30 feet, and that actually pushed them very close to the property line, so it wasn't down the middle, it was close, and so now we have a residence with a building probably 20-something, 22 feet away from them, that's a multifamily building, and they're in a single residence district. So the intent is to keep the character of the single residence district and
Right.
not have the infringement of multifamily units in there.
Will you still count the, it's a done with the court case, not with the bylaw, but if you have a small part that you're gonna put, say, a 12-unit building on, you still count the more restrictive part of the land toward that use?
Yes, you just have to
That's
place.
not changing, correct?
Correct, that's all that we're looking at is placement of the buildings.
Any other?
Okay.
Okay. Good,
Done.
okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. Some of you have been here in
This
the,
is an easy one.
in the past. The, number 3 is regarding the plan scale and, digital file and the number of hard copies that are required in our bylaw. It's one of the most common waivers that we make as far as the scale goes, because it doesn't often work for most projects to meet the scale requirements. And now that we're in a digital world, I guess we don't need as many actual hard copies to be produced. So the major change is, what we've been asking for is the scale would be 1 inch to 20 feet. And we were asking for 12 hard copies, and now it is asking for 6 hard copies and a scale of 1 inch to 40 feet on grading.
20, we are reducing it.
No, I think
You cross out the 20, we
the
get.
20 is crossed out and we're putting in 40.
Okay,
40
increasing
feet.
it.
Or floppy disk section
Or
of this?
greater, yes, or greater.
Right.
What's
Is there a
that?
floppy disk section of this? Like a floppy? is
Like
that-
it needed to be
Not-
submitted on floppy disk?
Yeah, what is that?
I sure hope not.
Well,
No, there's somewhere,
Everybody's gonna fail that, we're gonna have to waive that every
Right.
time.
no, in this section we didn't, in the current subdivision regulations, it still says
Oh, does it
floppy
really?
disk, because
I think
those were done in
somebody, I think
95.
somebody.
people
I-
catch it and we just give it the waiver.
I think somebody was gonna give me some marked up subdivision
probably.
regulations,
Yeah, probably.
that we could look at, so we could do this same thing, but we
we
didn't
didn't.
get there. That's okay, this is a good start.
Any questions?
Yes, any questions on this one? Sorry, that's a pretty. Okay, we'll move on that one. Okay, number 4, the stormwater management. Vinnie, I'm gonna let you take some of this one.
Well, basically, currently it talks about the stormwater management guidelines. Since the time the bylaws were written, those guidelines are now become standards in the handbook. So we're rephrasing the wording to change to meet that. Also, the rainfall intensity values, how much it rains in a 10-year storm. Though the old data was from 1960, it's been now updated, and now it reflects the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration Atlas 14 data, which is more current data. So it's using things that are now within 50 years, which is, just makes sense.
Yes.
The only question I have here is, I think that, we have a deal where they're updating the MS4, like all sorts of different things in the same well, they're adding regulations and in this bylaw. They're doing that edit, which I don't, it may in fact do the same change. but we're gonna be editing it again after this for them. It's not
I
at this
think
meeting.
we should be matching what they're doing. It's the same idea, so I don't know what the specific wording is that they have, I'm sure. I
For,
read
on
it.
this stuff, I'm not sure, but they're changing a lot of it. I mean, other stuff besides just this.
Right, but they're not changing 3.6. 3.6 is the site plan review standards.
Okay,
So they're proposing new stormwater bylaws,
yeah.
and that's gonna be a standalone section.
Oh, not, it doesn't get into this one?
It's not reflected here, but when they do that, which I think is gonna be town meeting in the fall, not for this town meeting, they're talking about doing some zoning change or bylaws changes, and they'll go through all the bylaws and say, okay, we need to submit within the zoning bylaws, a reference to this other section, so everything all matches, and that's what
Okay.
part of
Right.
their project is.
I was gonna say, as long as we're
So
referencing.
we have it here, and it'll come in on the others.
Okay.
As long as we're referencing the source material, I think we're okay. Awesome. All right, any comments from public? Okay, great. Moving on, number 5, let's talk about accessory use. So, let's see, where are we gonna, all right, so the major changes that we're adding here to this particular item is all accessory uses shall have a footprint, this is the part we're adding, less than or equal to 80% of the primary use structure on the lot and shall comply with the dimensional requirements, which was already there. I know it's hard to look at when you're not all looking at everything. And then, swimming pools and racket courts are permitted as accessory uses, not structures. They're subject to the building code, and this is because those items are referenced in other areas, right? In the bylaws, so we're trying not to repeat anything or contradict something in this. And which is also why, let's see, so then we've crossed out the racket court stuff and the swimming pool stuff, again, because that is referenced elsewhere with its own specific requirements, that belongs over there.
I think that's it.
And then that's basically it. Deleting some varying, like there were some specific, there were some specific things that were, oh, right. And then we noted, a truck box, Connex box, or steel storage unit shall not be deemed a permissible accessory structure or use in any residential district and will require a permit in all other districts. So again, not to say that you might not have a temporarily, you've got your, what do they
A
call it?
house fire or something.
Whatever, you've got your stuff in there.
Moving box.
Yes.
You've got
something
those
like that.
moving, pods, that's the
Yep.
thing I'm thinking of.
Temporary. right.
That's obviously fine, it's more the like, I'm gonna put this here and use this
Every day.
forever. I hope not.
Because with all these zoning changes that we're proposing, if you're paying attention in town, you see that there's an issue with the storage containers. There were some over on Prospect Street that were an issue. The neighbors were all upset about it, but there was nothing in our bylaws to address it, so now we're adding that into the bylaws. The idea of this accessory structure, there's a proposal in town that there's an accessory structure that's more than the size of the primary structure, if much more than the size of the primary structure. So this change is intended to kind of make a secondary or an accessory structure really accessory. So
Right.
seems simple, but unless it's
It's gotta be
it
worded
doesn't
properly,
work.
right, yes.
We have a building inspector in the audience. Do you have any comments on the accessory apartments?
Accessory use.
The 80%
Accessory
is
use.
what's bothering me on that, only because, again, whatever you guys come up with, I'll try to enforce it. But, some of these things, I can think of some different ways to look at it. The 80% bothers me only because there are different sized houses on all these lots everywhere in town. And it kind of, if I can put 80% on a 900 square foot ranch, per se, that's only 720. But, somebody has a 4,000 square foot house, does that mean they can put 3,200 square feet on it? I think that just because you got a bigger house doesn't mean you should automatically be able to build a bigger
Accessory, gotcha.
accessory apartment to it. So I think I would rather see a square footage I just come up with a
What
square
was
footage.
the earlier language?
I thought-
think-
700 something.
I thought we got the 80% from you,
No, that wasn't for me.
because that's been in there for,
A while.
Months.
We've
No.
talked about this a few times.
Yeah, I know, I haven't been here to listen to it, but
So-
now, I've been giving my feedback on the 80%. It's not, like I said, if that.
do you have a number then? I mean, I'm fine with
I would
changing
like
it
to take a
to,
what I would like to do is do a little bit of, just see what size houses are we dealing with. If we have like an average size house of 1,500 square feet, I'm just grabbing numbers, believe me. Let's do it 2,000 square feet, so it's easy to multiply. That's a 1,600 square foot addition you could put onto the house, basically. But if you
Accessory-
Well, I
have.
don't, I was
accessory
gonna
use,
say,
Like,
this isn't necessarily about additions, right? This is.
No, it's an
This
accessory
is
use.
a separate
Accessory,
building.
Exactly. I think if you just come up with a number, then you can address it a lot easier. Well, you can do anything up to X number of square feet. I think it makes more sense personally.
Can we, can you read that, the older one?
What, the older one?
Existing.
The older one doesn't have a number in
there's
it.
no number.
There's no number at
It's,
all.
this is providing it, and this has been sent, I mean, it's been being discussed for the
I-
last 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean, if-
let's.
No, but his point is correct, right? So if
I'm
you have a
okay with
bigger
this
house,
point,
yeah.
it's just, so let's pick a number right now. What number do you recommend?
If you want, I can calculate what kind of square footage
Can you
most
do it?
houses have in that area.
Can you do it during this public hearing?
Well,
in
any area though,
I
I
can
mean,
give you a
that-
ballpark,
that's-
yes.
This is a town bylaw, it's not a particular area, right? I mean, the house sizes vary all over the place, the structures vary. So I think that's why the idea of a percentage gives you some relational value, right? Whereas you put a number, then, I mean, the house could be 700 square feet, but now but you're allowed to build a 1,500 square foot thing as long as it's 10 feet from the property lines all the way around, right? So I think the idea of putting a percentage means that it's proportional to what else is already existing. And I'm open to, I mean, it doesn't have to be 80%, it could be less than that, it could be more than that, but, it could be no bigger than the footprint of the existing structure. So,
Madam Chair, perhaps, I'm not.
can you just, state name and,
Yes, I am Russell Chernin, I'm an attorney, maintain my offices in Worcester. I'm really just volunteering this for the board's
Appreciate it.
consideration. Perhaps in writing it, given the comments of the building inspector, you might have sort of a, but not greater than, so you could have, and again, I'll throw out numbers, that the accessory building cannot be more than 1,200 square feet, but so long as it is not greater than 80% of the main building. That I think answers
Right.
your concern.
right, yeah, that's
Nailed it.
thank you.
Is it only gonna cover additional buildings, like if somebody has a ranch and they raise their ranch, it's gonna double it, because it's the same size again?
So footprint, it's not square, it's the
So it's not square
accessory.
footage, it's footprint
It's not
outside of.
well,
the main
it's,
structure.
yeah, specifically what this says is footprint, so not square footage within the house of livable
Okay, so
space.
that wouldn't be done, okay.
And that wouldn't matter either, because that's not an accessory use,
That's what I was getting to, is that wouldn't, even in addition to the house, like if they're doing.
Those are
addition-
not accessory uses, those are,
Right,
that's
right.
an
So that
attached
doesn't
house.
hit,
right.
or doesn't,
So I guess,
So you wanna make something giant, stick it on your house, don't.
right, or make the house bigger and then do it. You know, I mean, it's like the two-stage thing. You make the house the right size.
I
That
do
makes
like,
sense.
I like that idea of giving an upper limit,
right, well,
potentially,
the
I don't
thing-
know what that thing is.
I
though.
agree, but we have a public hearing now. To
Yep.
go to the town meeting, we need to have discussed it here, so we
Yep.
need that number tonight during this public hearing.
So, can I,
I can give you the.
so this is entirely different than
Thank you, George.
accessory apartments?
Correct,
We're not
hundred percent, we are
So
not
that's-
discussing, we are not discussing
So
accessory
this is an
apartments at all.
accessory,
Correct.
entirely
Not
different.
on the list.
So do we wanna go to 6?
Yeah.
While he
I think we
does
can go to
that?
6 while we're waiting, yep.
Okay.
Habitable buildings per lot,
You want that one too.
we might need George back for that
That's right.
though.
It's almost the same way.
Yeah,
Well,
these
he's familiar-
last
he's
two
seen
are,
it, so let's see what the public thinks about the wording, and then
Fair enough,
if it's
that
totally
seems like a great
confusing-
idea.
Water break.
Okay, so the number 6 is regarding the habitable buildings per lot. And that is to clarify the definition of a habitable building to not be really what looks like two buildings connected by a foundation or a trellis or something else. So what it says is only one habitable building shall be placed on any one lot, period. So there's no definition of what a habitable building is. We know that on some projects, what really and truly appears to be two very separate buildings that are connected by a buried foundation or maybe a trellis or whatever are being considered one habitable building. So the idea here was to try to define that. In previous discussions, we tried contiguous walls, we tried single structure,
Single polygon.
which is how we landed at single polygon. I have since then heard the feedback of, so are we not allowed to have circular buildings in town? That is not actually the intent.
Can you
So-
build a circular building?
Sure.
Have you built a circular building?
I've been in one. There's these crazy circular
usually-
apartments in Cambridge that are like
Section.
somebody I knew rented an apartment in there. It was insane.
Not the Shaker Village out in Hancock.
Yeah. So at any rate, so I'm open to some suggestions on
Did we
that
change that last? I thought we
particular.
tried to change
What
something with
what we
polygon.
added in here was our most recent addition was just trying to clarify what we're really trying to say is that a trellis or a buried foundation or a similar structure connecting two otherwise separate buildings do not mean that those two separate buildings are one habitable building.
Conform to this requirement.
That's what we're trying to get at.
And existing buildings that are built that way are granted.
Obviously, our
So it's
right,
not-
obviously.
Doesn't apply to the going back, but
This
going
is
forward.
going forward to clarify what one habitable building, which seems in English like it would be really straightforward,
Really simple, but not
but is apparently not.
by some interpretation.
So we are trying to make sure that we've got that right. Comments from the public?
And so what we're saying is the shape of the exterior walls of a habitable must form a single polygon.
Or
I got a different,
we tried
There was-
structure, but then structure was like, oh, well, that's a foundation, or a trellis is a structure, or whatever. Okay, right, it does.
and if someone wants to propose a circle, they can get,
I guess that it's probably unlikely somebody would want a circle, they could ask for variance.
there's a phrase, I thought I changed and I didn't update my copy, because I thought I sent you something that had
I
had a
miss,
change.
if I miss it, if I,
Is it in the minutes?
No,
no.
it was after the last meeting when you didn't like the word polygon, so
I
changed the
must have just,
polygon.
I must have missed it.
my wife's a math teacher, she came up with a word and I can't remember what it is. I
We
flunked that
discussed it
test.
a couple times, we changed it a couple times, and I think, I know, so.
And then we landed on Polygon, I think we landed on Polygon in the meeting.
Right, and then I.
Cause that's
proposed
that's what this is me typing it as we're looking at it,
Right.
which is one good facilitation of Zoom.
Yeah. So that was the intent, and we can change
Shape,
that.
can we just form a single shape? Contain, shape with all connecting sides? I don't know.
Call your wife,
What?
call your wife.
She's tutoring, can't.
What's the issue here? Why are you proposing?
Currently, we have a couple of locations in town where they have a single lot, multifamily units in them, and there are two buildings, when you look at them, it looks like two buildings, but in reality, to get the one habitable dwelling per lot requirement to meet that, they actually built the foundation to be a single foundation under both of the buildings, so they're connected. So it's interpreted as being a single building, even though when you look at it from the street, like the ones across from Pinecroft, there are 4 buildings there.
Right.
In reality, according to our interpretation that has been done, there's only 2 buildings
There's 2
there.
buildings there.
So when you're looking at 4, you're really only seeing 2. And it doesn't make sense to me, so we're trying to clarify.
Not just,
The bylaw.
not just to
So I guess
Vinnie,
what I'm
it's not just to
asking
Vinnie,
is-
it's to other people too, it does not make sense to other
The,
people.
Unintended consequence. So you'd rather see one big box than something that's more creative. And the most creative example of that, his dad built over on Route 12, the Old Stone Village. Those are 2 12-unit buildings on 2 lots.
But they're
all
2
connected.
lots, is that 2 lots?
Well, there's a 12-unit building on each lot, correct? 12, right? And
What is that?
West Boylston, Old Stone Village, I'm
Boylston
sorry.
Village,
They're like duplexes, and they're connected in the middle. And to me, I would rather have that
How are they
than a
connected in
big
the middle?
block.
How are they connected in the middle?
They're sheds, right?
There's
Basically.
breezeways or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would meet this standard. So
well,
the
I don't know,
exterior-
we were
yeah.
saying, you
I-
just said
the
it's
Exterior
trellis.
walls still.
That's one of the reasons I came tonight, because, as you know, I used to read this stuff and
All the time.
interpret it. And I would have a really tough time interpreting that as being, I would interpret the way this is worded right now, that if somebody built like a garage with a breezeway, very typical construction, that it would not be allowed, because it's
Why
smaller,
is
it's
that?
narrower.
No, that's not
Because
it. But is it a polygon? A polygon can have a 2-foot section width. We're not saying that it has to be a walkable space, which it would probably have to
So
be.
basically what
Building code.
you're proposing with this is that the connecting structure would have to be a livable structure, like a breezeway or something that's really connected, not just a place to keep the trash buckets kind of thing.
Right, and we've had people say, because they wanted to have an apartment unit in something associated, in a building that existed on a lot, so they put a trellis across. Like 1 2x6 with some lattice on it.
I know at the time, because I was kind of well involved back then, when Paul did those, back on Route 12, they had to have a roof over them, that was kind of that was the consideration that made them basically one building. But again, when I saw it, I'm looking at it and saying, did they want to basically have big rectangle buildings instead of, because if a builder can put 12 units on a lot, he's not gonna put 6, he's gonna put 12, if he can, right? He's gonna come here, and you guys are gonna be dealing with a big block, like an apartment house, versus, salt boxes and things like that were built on. I know other builders are gonna do different things that you may not like as well, but you take that creativity away, the unintended consequence may be, we're gonna be looking at, because builders are gonna build things if they can, they're gonna do an economic way to do it, and one big box is gonna be worth it instead of fighting a.
Yeah, but this bylaw allows that, the
Okay.
structure that you're talking about. It also, in our current zoning regulations, there's cluster development is allowed, where we can waive the 1 habitable building per lot and use it as a cluster. So you protect the open space on the lot and you build all in one area up close. So that there are ways to do it so that you're not forcing them to do a whole bunch of, like you say, Legos on a piece of land.
Well, that's
And that is the
one
intent.
of my questions I had.
Yeah,
Okay,
good question, yeah.
yeah,
And we've been, like I say, you see that we're fighting over getting the wording right to a simple common sense question.
right. Other
Right.
thoughts or
George is back.
questions? Thoughts, George, what do you think of the word? Okay, first, George, do you have an answer for us on the previous one, number 5?
Yes, most of the houses, we're talking, in some of the newer houses and some of the developments, anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 square feet of the house.
Footprint?
Footprint?
And not the footprint, this is of the size of the house, and the footprints are usually probably about anywhere in the ballpark of 1,200 square feet.
Okay,
So if you go maximum, if you put a maximum of 1,000 square feet, we say, it'll be a lot easier to enforce it, and a lot easier to interpret what they're trying to do. So 80% is fine, up to, but let's have a limit
like a
If you
special.
get somebody who has a very large
That's
footprint.
it, that's it. Yeah, no, I think that's,
What do our builders in the audience have to say about
Yeah.
having an accessory structure of 1,000 square feet as a upper end? And then if you only have a 800 square foot primary structure, you would only get 700 square feet as an accessory structure.
That should be okay.
right? I mean, it's just accessory. This is no-
It's a one bedroom or a two bedroom apartment we are seeing.
Oh, I keep not using the microphone. Oh, this is gonna be hard.
Plus, anything reasonable can just get a variance.
Yeah.
A reasonable request for a variance, you know, if it's well within the intent of the law, bylaw, you just go for a variance, and it should be a straightforward process.
Not unless you put a special permit provision in. Variance you'll never get. There's no hardship. That I can speak on authority on.
But that's why I'm wondering, is it a reasonable expectation, 1,000?
I think that, one of the reasons I came tonight was because I was curious as to where the 80% came from. There's no language in here about agriculture, there's no language in here about business zone. You talk primary building, there's no provision to do the size of the lot. A lot over on Horseshoe Drive or on Shrine Ave might have a completely different accessory structure than one over on Lancaster Street or, you know, in other areas, Prospect Street, where there's areas of land where the buildings are built in the back. And I get why you're doing it, because one guy decided to build a big, huge building and nobody liked the looks of. I get it, and that's how usually these bylaws come about. That's
Right.
what happens, but we live in New England, people build barns. A lot of it, you just start it at the bottom of Prospect Street where I own some property, and 9 Prospect Street has a barn, you would have never been able to build this. The 2 houses up, same thing. No X up, same thing. You'd have to connect it to the building, like, Vinnie's probably familiar with where Cummings used to live on Church Street. It's all connected, you know, and the barn is much bigger than the house.
My barn is bigger than my house.
But it just,
it's
to me,
connected.
but I mean, just to force them to connect it, it doesn't seem to me to, you know, I think if you're gonna do something not to exceed the size of the house, that maybe makes some sense.
At the
But-
same,
But to put 1,000 square feet on something, that's basically a 2-car garage.
at
Is it
the
2 car
same
or 3
time,
car?
at the same time,
Is that a 2 car or a 3 car? I was
Well,
thinking.
maybe a little bigger, I think you probably have, what, about 3,000, yeah, about
at the,
700 square feet.
at the same time, do you like to have next to your single family homes, like gigantic monumental parking garage?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, we live in New England, people build barns, you know, there's no, this is one size fits all. Not only is it residential, it's farms, it's businesses, it's everything.
I asked this question in the very beginning when we first started talking about this, which is, I mean, whenever you're making a rule, you gotta think about what will go wrong with it, right? What's gonna go wrong? And I asked that question about the barn thing, and I think what we said was that, that the agricultural zone is different than what we're talking about, right? So
Not the way you got
that
it
would
worded.
not,
That's inclusive, it's everything.
An agricultural use gets an exemption from certain standards. George probably knows it better, but agricultural uses don't have to comply with zoning as tightly. There are some things that they have to comply with, but if it is a true agricultural use, then they wouldn't have to meet this. But if it's just a garage that people wanna make it look like a big barn, then that would have.
There's some pretty nice structures that, in this town that are built. I mean, I don't have a list of them with me, but there's some pretty nice buildings that people put on their property that are bigger footprint-wise than their house. And to me, I don't think we should be legislating against those. I don't know how you word it, and if it's one for one, that may make some sense. But I would also suggest that you put a special permit provision in it, so that if somebody does wanna build something that's got a bigger lot, they wanna put in a horse barn with it, you know, with accessory stalls and things, and their house is a, you know, small cape, that they'd have a way to do that without, because you'll never get a variance. I mean, it's not, there's no hardship. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Shouldn't, but you might.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not likely to happen unless things drastically change, but, that would be my 2 cents on it. do speak with a little bit
Yeah,
of
because we
experience.
considered that, 'cause we were looking at some of the properties up on the north side of the reservoir where you've got 12 acres and an accessory structure is a barn that they're
Yeah.
gonna use. But that barn, in my head, I was thinking that barn doesn't need to comply with the zoning because it's an agricultural use. But if someone wants to have a house with a workshop and something in it, they wouldn't be able to have an accessory apartment in there. But they could have a big garage and a workshop, and that would be kinda nice to have, but,
And you think
that's
this
difficult
is
in
still,
this. No, that would be,
this-
that's the one
that's where we'll
condition
get,
where we
yeah.
would get.
Does
be more
this
restricted.
take into account the size of your lot?
I think that's the problem, is
If
that
you
it's
have
not.
a acre lot and a small house and you wanna have a big barn in the back,
That's what's
and
my
it would,
point.
yeah, it would go, but.
Well, and exactly, this is exactly what we've had to deal with in all this, is you gotta look at the acreage, and you also have to look at the setbacks. I mean, cause you could have a 5 acre parcel, and then have a neighbor right next to you, and you put your pig pen right next to the neighbor's house. Not really neighborly, but it has happened in town. And so, that's kind of the situation that writing the regulations gets really difficult, cause it's all in the details. And how much, that's why some of these regulations that we've written are a big paragraph to say what a single habitable dwelling is. It's, you would think it's easy, but there's always an interpretation factor.
Right,
So,
right.
Those are good comments, things that we need to consider. What does the board think about making it has to be less than the size of the primary
The
structure?
primary structure.
And do we put something in there about
Unless,
a large
Allow-
barn on larger lots, or lots greater than an acre?
Well, I mean, yeah, it would be something about like, you know, if the lot is such that they own enough that they could put a castle someplace and you can't even see it, you know, cause they're, whatever, the layout of the land, people aren't gonna care, you know, go for it.
Right.
You know, but the people were, that's not the situation we're trying to protect the neighbor from, you know? And I don't know how to break it out so that it protects the neighbor sometimes, but then lets people, like you say, do what their property allows them to do and give them a nice shop cause there's plenty of room for it and it's not gonna bother anybody. I don't know how to do that.
If I could suggest, because I know that the issue you had, and not intimately familiar with it, because it was a little bit after my time, but I know what you went through, and I get it, I understand. I think the proper way to do a bylaw like this, if you want to accomplish what you want to accomplish, is to put a limit on it. You know, 1 for 1 probably makes sense, you know, that disagrees with our building inspector a little bit, but going 1 for 1, it's an easy way to figure it. It's whatever the square footage is, you can do an accessory building equal to that's detached. The other suggestion I would have is to put a special permit provision, doesn't matter who you have, it could be zoning board or you guys, and have a special permit provision so that if somebody has a 5 or 6 acre lot and they wanna build a big horse barn in the back, the standard for a special permit is basically if the neighbors aren't gonna mind, you can grant it. And that's, would solve your issue that you had, that we're talking about. So I think
That
if you
seems
do it
fair
that
to
way,
me.
it makes a lot more sense and
But
You
if you say so, you know, if there is those kind of situation arises, even variance is, you know, the ZBA could,
It's not a variance, right? It's a special
So I
permit.
don't
That's
special
different.
permit, you can't, if you do it as a variance, you have to prove basically hardship to the land.
Yeah.
That's impossible to prove
yeah, but they do have a land.
for a
They
barn,
They do have a large land,
you know?
they are asking for it. Any reasonable ZBA members, they won't say no to that.
Right, well,
But I wouldn't-
that's the
I
thing,
wouldn't
that's
lean
what he's
on that.
saying. That's what he's saying, putting a provision for a special permit to go what is stated there
Special permit makes it more reasonable and
makes it
more
reasonable.
attainable.
I think that's fair.
A variance, they shouldn't get a variance, and we don't wanna
Well,
write a
a variance-
bylaw where they should get, or we're suggesting that they get something that they shouldn't get, because it's a hardship standard.
People tend to use the term variance, like people use the term Kleenex or, you know, Vaseline, you know, they use it as a common word to, but
Any
variances and
difference?
special permits, as you know, are distinctly different.
Right.
There's a huge difference.
Well, if you do the special permit, you have a little bit more not control, but of what they're doing. Where a variance, they could do whatever they want. No, I wanna build a whatever, you know, because they're going for a variance to zoning, they could ask for anything, you know?
But you still have that hardship is
Right.
the thing that'd be tough to do on an accessory building like that. But
That's the way it's supposed to be.
what your intent is, I believe, is to avoid a future situation like you already had.
Right.
And if you
And
put a
trigger
limit,
review.
put a limit on the size of it, and like I said, I think 1-to-1 is reasonable. But if you put a limit on the size, and then anything above that, you have a special permit provision. Now, somebody that's over on Lancaster Street, that's got 40 acres of land or whatever, and wants to put a, you know, 200 by 200 foot barn out in the back that's aesthetically,
And it's
you know. and-
4 times as big as their house or something.
Yeah, yeah, and now you could go to a board, whether it's zoning or planning, and present that, and then have the neighbors comment, and, you know, now you don't have that situation after it's built. Now you have the comment before.
So we would
That would
say,
be my 2 cents. Now, sure.
I mean, I think
I
that's,
think we can add a section.
I think, well, no, I think what we're saying is, all accessory uses shall have a footprint less than or equal to the primary use structure on the lot. And then there's a line that is added, so probably more before we talk about swimming pools, right?
Yep.
Like in here, that says, you know, anything larger than that, whatever it's, whatever the, you know.
I don't know how you.
Will require a special permit from,
If,
Oh,
what do you
if-
say?
Actually,
I don't wanna be your counsel, but, my suggestion would probably be that you do that as a separate, because then in your use regulations, it would be your SPR, you know, your special permit regulation. It would be your designation for a special permit, so structures larger than allowed by section such and such of the bylaw would be allowed by special permit, and then that would be a separate.
So we can't do it here.
Now, that would go into the use table, but I don't know
Okay.
that we need that, because
Could we
this
just put
isn't
it
in
in-
the use table, the accessory use.
You know what I'm saying, also that it's, again,
I mean, we could put it in 3 different places, but, I think if we keep it in the definition
Here,
here, it makes it neat and clean, so that someone looks at it and says, okay, this is what they are allowed up to the size of my primary structure. And for lots greater than 1.5 acres, or whatever the board wants to come up with,
oh, I think
a
just.
special permit may be granted by,
Oh, I wouldn't even get it like that. I would just say, have a footprint less than the size of the main structure or larger with a special permit, and then keep going, and shall comply with the dimensional requirements of the primary use to which, you know, all the setbacks and all that kind of stuff that still apply. But I would just add the or larger with a special permit, and then in the regulations, determine, you know, what, any details about the special permit. Is it a special permit that would provide, would trigger a butters notices?
yes.
Okay, so it's, you want or larger with special permit, I think.
Yeah, so it's the idea of having the special permit, there's no new regulations that are going with this, that's something
Right.
else, so it's gotta be in here. So,
have a footprint less than or equal to the primary use structure on the lot,
Or larger with a special permit, I mean, somehow put
Comma.
the trigger in there.
comma,
Yeah.
or larger with a special permit,
from the,
Oh, yeah.
comma, and shall comply with the dimensional requirements for the primary use to which they are an accessory.
And that sticks it in there, that sets the trigger
See,
point out.
this is why I hate not being on the Zoom, because I would just type it out, so you will just see it.
Melanie.
yeah,
What's
show
that?
up in the meeting.
And now I gotta put,
This
I
is in
gotta,
trouble.
yeah, so,
It's good, I'd
So
rather
go
have the questions
to-
now.
no, that's why we're doing this.
And who do you
The
think
primary
would
use
be the
structure.
reviewer? You think it
I
should
mean, the
be
sad
us?
part is the part
Or
where
the
we've already
inspector
talked about
directly?
this like at least
No,
4 times,
he's
but
not a
that's
special permit guy.
It's gonna be selectmen, zoning board, and planning board.
Yeah, so it'd have to be somebody who could have a meeting and post a meeting and have
equal
a.
to the primary use structure on a lot.
Well, we have a hand raised.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
I
George.
like that idea with the special permit, because now if someone comes in looking to build a structure, I've got something to go by. And I think that's the way to go with it. That's why I was looking at a number at the top, but I think I like the special permit better. So if it goes over the size of the house,
Yeah.
special permit
Right,
process.
and that covers you from the tiny house wanting to build a huge barn, or
Exactly.
the giant guy wanting to build something 5 times as big as the tiny house guy.
Exactly.
You know?
And I don't know that,
That's how we ran into the problem.
and I don't know that we put anything about the size of the lot itself at this point.
No, I don't,
So how are they establishing, so how do they
On the special
vote
permit
on a
side?
special permit? I mean, they
I
either
don't know.
say, we
That's
like
what-
this guy, we're gonna give him the permit, or we don't like this guy, we're not gonna give him it.
well, no, they have to have a plan that shows that it's, fits into the piece of property with all the setbacks and other rules that apply to every building. You know, like it can't be right on the edge of the property, right up to the other guy's house, or
But that's
in the
exactly
back.
what,
Or it
so
can't be
that-
near some wetlands. and
Well,
whatnot.
right, let's give that example.
So apply what you just said to the one that was the
Yeah.
problem in town.
Yeah,
They've got a very large accessory building that meets all the standards, so it would go to a special permit, but there would
and
be
the,
no
and the
reason to
neighbors
say
show
no.
up, the neighbors show up and say they don't want it, but you're up there trying to decide whether they get it or not.
So where's the standard that
No.
you're using?
So you're saying that one would pass that requirement? Oh, okay.
But the standards outlined in the special permit law, I mean, that it can't,
Well, it's safety.
paraphrasing it, but it can't be detrimental to the neighborhood, and there's language in there for that, and so if the neighbors come in and starts, I mean, my experience has been variance or I've had people come into the zoning board with a clear path to a variance, and the neighbors object to it, and it got turned down, and I've had just the opposite, where we couldn't issue a variance because they didn't give us the argument, and all the neighbors wanted it. And I've literally had both. And so the neighbors usually have a pretty good say as to, you guys must have had that same experience with your special permits. I mean, you get people coming in and they complaining about it, and it usually doesn't happen if it's,
We follow the rule,
you know,
we don't have, public is not,
you're a little bit less.
We have to,
less-
yeah, gotta follow the rules,
but
what's allowed.
Anyway, that's.
that's just something we
I see
need
the
to
problem.
consider.
I don't know
It's,
about that.
it is something to be considered for
All
the
right, so we
people.
can reword that.
Yeah, I gotta write it down though, so I don't,
So we understand the public comment portion, so we could close the public hearing, or do you wanna?
Yes.
Okay.
like, or larger,
Oh, George didn't get to comment on a polygon.
wait, I'm just trying, it was, thinner or less or equal to the primary use structure on the lot, comma, or larger with an approved,
With a special.
with a special permit.
With a special permit, and then what agency? Issued by.
Special,
Should we just stick it on ZBA because they're not here to defend themselves?
yep.
I thought they were.
Yeah.
But are they familiar enough with the
No, I
conditions
don't
that
know.
need to be reviewed?
Yes, they dealt with the one that you were talking about as the example.
It's in court right now. Does that say,
Well, they're gonna ask us for comment.
No comments.
right? Well, I would not wanna just throw it on someone else, I would keep it with the planning board, and if it needs to get changed to the select board or the zoning board of appeals, I'm open to that, but let's take responsibility, cause we're writing the bylaw.
Well, except that, the ZBA did a very good job.
Mark. On what?
Well, their comments were sound.
On
Well, okay, let's do,
Oh, that
what,
is it.
what other special permits, what other kind of special permits like this do we see here in this board?
I think, I would recommend send it to the ZBA.
I think so too, cause I just
Yeah,
think
put it in
that's their kind of area.
Knock yourself up, that's good, I just didn't wanna throw
Nope.
it at them and have them get upset.
Yeah.
No,
We don't have to take here.
I totally get that. I totally get that. I also don't like to just throw things at other people, but I think it's what you just said about special, like, we follow the rules. Well, the rule says this, whatever anyway. That's kind of our job as
So
planning board.
Is footprint and square footage different?
Yeah, like when you have a two-story, your footprint is half your square footage.
Well, I'm just talking about the square foot, like if I have a 40 by 40 house and I wanna build a 30 by, whatever, long that makes it larger, but still falls within
Oh, yeah.
the smallest
I
square
mean,
footage, would be okay, okay.
Yeah, if it fits in within those, I can do it in my office, I can approve it right away. But, anything larger, then of course August would go to the special permit.
Yeah.
That can be taken care of down in my level, it doesn't have to go to the planning board. I can look at a drawing and determine if it's
Square footage.
it's square footage or whatever it is, I can do that.
I think what we said here is footprint.
Does the garage include in a footprint?
What do you mean?
Attached garage.
Is that how you interpret it?
That's, yeah, I think anything that's in the ground with a foundation is considered out of that footprint.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
interpretation.
So an
attached,
existing,
right.
so an existing garage.
No,
And
that's
that's how you
attached to the house. is all
Attached
part of
means
it.
it is part of
Right,
the,
it's part of it.
Primary
part of the
Yeah, I mean,
gross
we're-
area.
We're
It's
doing,
only what's so
we're
bad
doing the
is-
best we can, yeah, that, I admittedly, you
It
know,
keeps it simple, it's not overbearing, it makes sense. Not that it was my
yeah.
idea, but it
And
just-
hopefully it's not that big of a deal, it just helps people rein things in as necessary.
So we can deal with the details of the work.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I got, yeah. got
And we'll
that
put that on the town warrant.
On the
so
town warrant.
If any of you people who are intimate with this discussion see that it doesn't reflect what was said, contact the
Great.
board and say, you forgot this line, or it doesn't look like what we agreed to, because I'd rather get it up front and we can amend it on the floor,
Right,
and just be ready, because we have to have a.
Would we bring these as individual votes
Once we,
or
well,
one?
let's go and see what, how the last one, so far, everything's been pretty reasonable and
Yeah.
understood, so
Yeah.
we'll just do it as one, so.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if there's a fear that we're gonna lose everything because of one.
Because of one, we'll just separate.
Right, they are all, what, they must have to go one at a time, no?
We
Well,
don't
we could
have,
vote them all at the same time.
no, they don't have to go, they could all be one
One
warrant
big,
article.
I mean, I'm not saying that
But-
that wouldn't be good, yeah, okay. I just assumed they would have to all go one at a time, just because they're different.
They
different
could
rules.
go either way.
Okay, well, I guess I'll let you select board people figure that out. So, George, we had talked about the habitable buildings per lot. And the discussion is, if I can, we don't want to force everybody to just have big, ugly rectangular boxes stuck in order to get the number of units that they can have, right? Which are allowed, right, which are allowed by right. We don't necessarily want that, because those are ugly. That's true. But what we're trying to get at is that they need to look like they're, I mean, we're trying to get that they need to look like they're actually one building and not two completely separate buildings, yeah, with a couple trash cans in between them. So, is that sound right? Yeah?
And so we have that revised wording, and are you okay with that?
Which,
Send it over to you.
number 6?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that polygonal thing?
Right,
Let me have every one of you on speed dial, so when they call up and say, this guy wants to put a polygonal addition on the house, who's gonna answer that, what it is? I'm telling you, that
I can
is
answer
going
you
to
that.
be
A polygon is any shape,
yeah, well, okay.
it's a closed shape, it
Okay,
doesn't have
well,
a,
maybe
Right.
something
I can-
sticking out.
well,
Okay.
I mean, like, George, we tried out like contiguous walls,
That's
right?
That's
We
fine,
tried-
whatever you do.
We
it's
tried
fine.
contiguous walls, but I think you said that was, you said you when we were in
I
our.
wanna be able to
you said-
enforce these at,
I know what
so it have to become an issue down the road, that's all, I just come up with something that we can.
I think
work
you
with.
said contiguous walls, well, the
Contig-
foundation is under there and the walls are contiguous, I think is what you said.
Well, that's
So-
what my feeling is, if it's a structure and it has a continuous foundation, it's one structure. And that, if you have it separated by a slab of some sort, which could have utilities under it, I mean, you're looking at, buildings that are broken up slightly in order for them to look more attractive in the area.
So-
I think if we put everything in a row, it's gonna end up looking like some other areas in other towns, that's gonna look like a institution versus a nice little development.
So Josh,
Yes,
if I have to look at two buildings, as you said, one building, I need to have an X-ray vision to see the foundation is attached.
Do I have to see the foundation attached?
Yeah, how do I know the foundation is?
Because I
You need to
inspect,
have an X-ray.
I inspect all foundations, so I know what's in the ground.
Yeah, but it doesn't
And I
look
approve
like.
the plans.
Yes, I agree, but it doesn't look, it doesn't, you know, the bylaw says one habitable buildings in one lot. The way you describe is, it is allowed, two lots, two buildings can be there, but as long as it is connected under the ground with the.
That's my interpretation, yes.
Yes, but, you know, when I look at it outside, what I can see is two separate lots. So it's not fair for the people with one lot in one habitable building, and someone has two lots in one habitable building. Though, yeah, I agree with you. It is-
One lot and two habitable
Yeah,
buildings
sorry.
is what it looks like, right, that's.
So,
Unfortunately-
yes, it is, you know, in your interpretation, it is correct. You know, it is connected at the foundation level, but what people are looking at is not the foundation. They are looking at the two buildings, one lot.
And the design, we're not saying it has to be a block. Clearly, those are not what we want. And there are lots of 30-unit buildings, huge buildings, they have jogs, they have architectural character, and they can be built as a single structure. So that we're not asking for something that's unreasonable. It's just what, I think we're trying to see what the town wants, because it all has to go to town meeting. It doesn't matter what I want personally. It's what the town meeting is gonna want. Because I've gotten a whole lot of phone calls about these sites where there's two buildings, and it's like, well, how do they get these two buildings on a site?
Yeah, how did I, yeah.
And they're like, well, it's not two buildings. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's connected with the foundation.
So it's the definition, so we need to clarify the definition so that we're all on the same page.
Well, that's great, but when you come up with that definition that I can enforce, that'd be great. Because
Well-
I'm looking at some people coming in here looking to build, a project, and they wanna
All right.
just put a jog in it, and, you know, I'm just fine, if that's the way you wanna have it in one building, I can just
We
enforce that
maybe
that
just
way.
don't have to say, like, maybe all we need to say here is, only one habitable building shall be placed on any one lot. A trellis, buried foundation, or similar structure connecting two buildings shall not constitute a single habitable
We
building,
can just
period.
leave it, you know,
Like-
one habitable building in one lot. Simple as.
Well, that's where we are now.
That's where we
That's
are.
where
It
now-
currently
let's
says
leave
that,
it like
and we
that.
have, no, it's not working.
Yeah, but the interpretation came in, the foundation thing. This is the new interpretation.
Yeah.
So. it's-
So we have to add something, you're saying?
Okay.
So instead, are we
So get rid
saying,
of that sentence, I'm fine with it either way.
so just leave it, so just not amend it, period?
We'll take out the shape issue.
We need to amend something, because otherwise all the interpretations are gonna be the way we've been seeing them,
Okay,
which,
Vinnie, can you define the connect, we're talking about a thing that connects two buildings, basically.
Right.
We wanna make it so that it doesn't look like a trellis, I guess that's.
a trellis or something that you can't see when you're looking
Maybe,
at it.
maybe
That you
the building
can't see,
inspector, maybe,
yeah.
maybe he could have a better language, but I'm thinking something that's that buildings must, individual buildings must be connected with a
Enclosed structure.
enclosed occupiable structure, something that, so a breeze, you don't wanna say conditioned
Roof and
space, you
walls.
know,
Yeah,
because
no,
you don't
but
wanna have to heat it.
that's what was happening before, they would say, well, it's gotta be electrified, it's gotta be
Yeah.
conditioned,
Then it will
and I
be
said, no, it
sprinkled.
doesn't.
They
Yeah,
have to sprinkle the building.
yeah.
Well, could you say something about on the habitable level? So that it can't be a buried structure, it has to be something that's on the first level?
something visible,
Anything you
Visible.
attach,
That's
it
right.
has to be sprinkled
Yeah,
then.
that's,
Yeah, but
that's.
if
where
they
you go
close
with
it,
that,
you
okay.
know,
Now your square footage
So-
increases.
If it is more than 2 units, you have to sprinkle it. So that's the only reason they are doing that way, to avoid the sprinklers.
Building law, come in, sprinklers, systems.
So that's our situation, and
wait, so,
we've been talking about this.
so because those two are separate, they didn't have to put any
Right.
sprinklers in those
Yeah, correct.
Ah,
That's a good expense actually.
yeah,
Sprinkler system is expensive.
sure, yeah, okay.
But there are situations where it feels more approachable, more character when they are two separate buildings and they are even 4 units.
Right,
And that's what we've had.
right.
So it does look better, but that's not really the trigger.
But if you put 4 units together, that looks big also.
Yeah.
Can I, can I ask the
We-
building
we
inspector,
have
what would you interpret as a connection between two buildings that would require the sprinklers?
That
A
would
roof,
require a roof.
an open roof?
If it has a roof
Have it
on
go.
it, it has to have sprinklers.
On both, that's how you, okay, that's, all right.
If it doesn't have a roof, then it depends on square footage of the units.
So is there a way, I mean, we asked you this 6 months ago and didn't get anything, so
I
it sounds like we're
did
getting
give some information, Tom, but go ahead.
getting squat, but, right now, we've got it written here, we've got 2 separate buildings, is there a way to, it's not, I hear the word roof, is there a way to use a single habitable building has one single roof line? Does that address,
Then
what
maybe
you're
you
looking
don't get those jogs and things that are interesting, right? Cause the
you're not
roof
gonna-
line is
yeah.
different.
Then you get-
yeah, cause you wanna have a different roof line, okay.
Yeah, it's like,
That's a
yeah.
tough one,
Yeah, no, I agree.
Oh,
But roof
this is
sounds like a
such a
way to
hard
go,
one.
but it's not.
yeah.
Seems like the incentive is the sprinklers, that's what's causing no roof to be done, which is not what.
Well, and aesthetics. I mean, I think people do like the look of a smaller,
Well,
like that's
sure,
my own.
I mean, if you're getting some, yeah, if you're the one going to live there,
Right.
you get more windows on your side, you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
Right. But you
'Cause
also
you only
can
have 2
put
units,
jogs
right?
and twists and
you can,
that's all doable, it's just costs. And
right,
so that's
that
what,
sprinkler
I mean,
thing
we
is
need to figure
interesting.
something out. What do we do with it?
okay, so. I mean, so I think to some degree, the biggest problem is when there's just nothing in between them that is visible, that it just doesn't, they look like, to anybody's naked eye, they look like 2 separate buildings.
Like an alleyway, it's almost.
So maybe it's that, maybe we're just saying a buried foundation with nothing visible above is not,
So scratch out the middle sentence and just keep what we have for.
right, we say one, yeah,
That's what
we
we
get
need.
rid of the middle. We don't need to do the polygon part, but we're just really specifying that,
Right, so what we wanna say is that only one habitable dwelling per lot, and then, what was that second?
where the second, the formerly third, now second line would just say a trellis, buried foundation, or similar structure connecting 2 buildings shall not constitute a single habitable building.
Does that give you enough definition?
That's better, yeah.
Then that's all we need, as long as you, I mean, it's,
It's,
you're making the
right, as
interpretation.
long as I can interpret it and help people when they
Yeah.
come in wanting to do something, now you
What-
don't want a connected foundation that's buried.
And a trellis
So-
is just like
And
a.
trellis, I didn't know what the trellis was.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think actually the big thing is the buried foundation. Maybe all we're saying is a buried foundation or similar
And
structure.
that works for design purposes. 'cause
Connecting
it looks, you can, with a buried foundation, you satisfy the 1 unit and you can give it some type of character too. I mean, that was the whole reason why, to interpret it that way with a connected foundation. That's,
But this says a
But we're
connected
saying
foundation.
no buried
shall
foundation.
not
We're saying,
constitute-
that's what I'm saying, that's what I'm doing is justifying what we were doing before.
Oh, I
Now-
understand.
Now we're taking that portion out, so instead of having 2 units here, 2 units with a connected foundation, we're gonna have 4 units together.
Did you,
or maybe they build something nice in between them that is not just a buried foundation that makes it look like it's 2 totally separate buildings, right? Like maybe
It
it's,
could be garage
there
associated
could be a
with
little
each of
garage,
those
there could be
buildings.
some little
So
sheds or
ways
things
to
that
break it.
people
Well, that was
or
kind of
something.
what I was telling, is for future expansion.
Storage, or I don't know.
did you wanna, is it important that you address the roof for the sprinklers? Like it has to have
Well,
a continuous sheltering or something
when they
like
come in
that?
with a permit, if they have a question about it, I can tell them right away that they're gonna need sprinklers, and that usually turns it off right there.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right, Ali?
Yes?
Seems like it.
All right,
All right, I think we're good at that.
Discussion.
Okay, that was Wonderful, thank you all for being part of this discussion. I think we don't have anything more to say on this. So I think a motion to close this public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mark. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Frank. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great.
Reword it.
We'll reword that a
and
little
submit
bit.
it for the
and-
warrant.
Yep, we already have a placeholder, so we can see if there's any discussion at town meeting. Excellent. All right, let's move on. All right, we are on, I'm just gonna shift some paperwork around here, so I'm not looking at stuff that's already done. Okay. Do we have folks here who are specifically here for the, removal of the Quinnapoxet Dam?
I think that was just me.
Okay, great. We'll come back to that then. Let's move on to, we've got Newhouse Circle and Weston Circle. Mr. Ali, you're welcome to come up here and talk into the microphone, so
Yes,
that we'll catch that this time.
There is a speaker here.
Oh, yes, that one first. Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause that one also looks like it's red. Okay, so, Newhouse Circle, you have the punch list that we have. I know.
Yeah, I have a copy here.
And Brian, did you guys get to meet, or did you not get to meet this week?
I met him.
You got to meet?
Yeah.
That's great. So you have stuff to move forward there. Mostly what I wanna say, I mean, I think as far as Newhouse goes, we have what we have. VHB's been out there, we're moving along with that. I mean, street acceptance procedures, gonna be street acceptance procedures, so I can't guarantee
Before
that.
then, I do have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Is that the final list?
I don't,
Covers everything.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it too.
No, the thing is,
oh my
the
gosh,
punch
you
list,
guys, I've sent the punch list so many
the
times.
punch list has been there. It was approved by the board, but it was never finally, it cannot be finally approved till the road is accepted, like Vinnie says. There's nothing,
So I was gonna say, we don't approve punch lists, right? We
we approve
approve the plan.
approve the plan, you approved the plan. I came up with the punch list, which was done by VHP, the town consultant.
I put it together personally. It is a list that is compiled of VHB's comments, the DPW's comments. On the list at the bottom, in the footnote, it says exactly what it was that I based it on.
Yep.
It is there. I did it in September. It's been around since September.
Right. And
It's
that's-
all there.
And today I met,
But the point is
You
that
get
it,
454 today from Wayne, email?
that just after the meeting,
Yeah,
there
okay.
were some changes that I had to talk to you about.
But that was like an hour
No,
ago.
yeah, no, I did not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't see it either.
No?
They told that they are going to send it to you.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
So, and I think,
He did
and
not.
what, and listen, at the last meeting, Mr. Utley agreed to both go, finish everything on the punch list and do anything else that came up in the field, right? It was on the recording, we were all there, definitely happened.
Yeah.
Right? So,
right, the question that I have is that this punch list that you prepared was complete as of last September. You go through a winter, stuff changes.
This is that punch list.
We can't assume that that punch list is final. We have to get
No,
DPW, fire department, and VHB to review it. Have all three of those reviewed the site. VHB, I heard, was out there this
VHB
afternoon.
is our agent, and it is the planning board's responsibility at this time. Street acceptance, street acceptance is,
The DPW usually review, or in the past, the
but
DPW.
we're not at street acceptance stage, is my understanding. We are, but not for this May meeting. Right now, the purposes, what we're doing right now is to help the select board.
there were a lot of
That's where
emails
we're at.
passing by from
And I
public.
think
So we're
that
not-
we have.
So we're not doing street acceptance stuff, we are doing
Well, this is where it's
something else.
complicated, because we are, but we also have an intermediate step that is, the meeting a requirement, or establishing a requirement so that Ali has a permission to proceed with other projects.
Right, which, I mean, and I think whatever the select board chooses to do in moving forward, some caveat needs to be in there that says, you know, street acceptance procedures will need to be followed, and
Yes,
any
absolutely.
issues that may come up in going through that process will also have to be done. That's it. That's the, I mean, I don't know what those
I
are
mean, you
right
don't
now.
think that by getting the punch list done, it waives you from street acceptance? I mean, this just gets you to be able to move on with your other project, right?
Actually, street acceptance is from the town.
Right.
The only thing
Which is
planning
independent.
board is required right now, if I satisfy VHP concern, it's planning board's responsibility to accept VHP as the work has been done.
Absolutely.
And the public works, what public works is saying is, they don't want to take any responsibility
Yep.
of any, it is planning board's responsibility and planning board consulting engineer to say, is it okay to accept the road or not?
The situation is that VHB is an advisor, they're the review engineer for the planning board. If they say everything's okay, but Frank goes out there and sees there's a problem with your water line or something associated with that he's familiar with, the planning board is the one that makes the decision. If VHB says everything's fine, you're not done. It has to be a vote by the planning board.
Planning board. That's what
So that's not what I heard. So I heard that once VHB says it's okay, it's all set, which it isn't the case. It's pretty much
He's just a
usually the case.
consultant for planning board,
Right.
and if he gives her his consultancy and planning board agrees to it, it's an approval for me.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
then once the planning
we
board
agree to
approves,
Yeah.
approval goes with that. But then when you're going to acceptance of the road, the planning board has to get feedback and input from the DPW. And if they raise issues, then those need to be addressed.
So my point would be, if we have two chiefs, that every engineer is different. Consulting engineer is different than a public works engineer. There has to be a balance here. I cannot satisfy two engineers with two different brains, how to operate.
So don't you think there is a regulation?
There's no regulation, because, put it this way, last September when he met, he told we can grind the cracks and pave it. Today, when I met VHP, he changed his mind. He told no, the cul-de-sac part, the end of cul-de-sac, he wants me to grind it and pave it. That changed.
Okay.
So
I
maybe-
didn't see it right
So
that
something
time.
must have changed over the
No,
winter, that
nothing
things
changed.
must have settled.
Nothing
Well,
changed. I didn't see it right. That's why, that was the reason by the consulting engineer. So, I don't have a problem. I can satisfy VHP. But if the public works doesn't want to accept that remedy, so I had to redo the whole thing?
That's why I'm saying we should have the DPW guy out there.
He doesn't want to
see-
give
Yeah,
answers.
and
We tried it.
something fell down there, because we asked for that, so that you could have both people on the same
So
page.
you get everything
Right.
done.
Yeah.
We cannot. Because
So
it's not in his jurisdiction, he's saying.
It is that,
We
so
haven't
this
gotten to
is
the
where
point.
we're at. Where we are at is, we have, under VHB's consultancy and anybody else's expertise who wants to bring something and add it onto this list, we can say, here's where we're at on our portion of the project. And also, street acceptance is a separate process that must be followed.
In any other town, the street
That's all we can
acceptance
see.
is a legal part. All the work is done by the engineering, public works, and the engineering, consulting engineering job. But here, in this town, it's different.
Okay, I didn't know that was, so DPW is not doing the inspection.
No, he doesn't like to
Okay.
do it.
That is what's happening.
I don't know if he
So-
thought he was doing the paving inspection, which is a VHB thing, and I
No,
don't
I
know where the
think, so I
conclusion
think,
was.
I think, so, look, from the planning board perspective, we're trying to get this job, we're trying to get things to a conclusion. From the select board, I think I can speak on behalf of, everybody's trying to get things to a conclusion. And in so doing, we asked our town representatives to try to work with VHB and everybody so we're all on the same page, so we can all move forward to conclusion. That is not what is going to happen.
Fire chief also has.
That is not what is going to happen, so, that's okay.
No answer from.
That's, so all I can say, I mean, what, you know, so I can provide this. It sounds like we have some new comments from
I haven't
VHB.
seen it. He told he's going to email
He
it.
said what you said.
So,
Yeah.
and that just
He
happened
sent it?
today.
No,
So
he
I-
said what you said, but he only sent it to us.
Okay.
So I can, you know, I modify this then, if, as needed.
VHP email. I didn't
And
get it.
it just,
have it? I can't do it from here, I don't have it now.
and so, and like I said, and I know all we can do is also say, or whatever, I don't, honestly, I know we're trying to help facilitate this process. I don't know what exactly the select board is looking for from us. We would not have a vote on a punch list, and I am not gonna ask for one, right? Cause that doesn't make any sense to me.
Honestly, there was a vote on this one before.
Yeah, it was
Last
in
year.
September.
We didn't vote, I don't think we
had a vote
voted
on
on
this
it.
one.
Did we
Did
vote
we
on
ever vote
it?
that we were gonna send the list or something? I don't know.
We'll find, that was the final
Maybe
list.
we
and
voted
we'll
that
go
we were
ahead and
gonna
do
send it.
As soon as the weather breaks, go ahead and do it. But obviously, it's.
But,
subject
and I
change.
don't think we're as drawn up on NUA as, I think we're further behind.
That is
on
correct,
Western.
so I
No,
went,
obviously.
so NUA, really, what I can, again, what I can put together is these new comments from VHB. I can say, street acceptance will need to be followed
Independently.
independently, and send it off to all the parties that might need it. Does that sound good to everybody?
It's clear.
Okay. So Westland Circle, here's what I've got. So I did the same thing with Westland Circle, trying to get everybody on the same page so that we are doing this once and not multiple times. However, where we are at there is that I have comments back from VHB. They are older, they're an older visit. So I would make the same comment there that, you know, that when they're coming out to finish up, you know, to review the finishing stuff, if something new comes up, you please do address whatever it is.
Yeah, one thing I cannot address on Westland Circle is the walking trail.
And I don't know what to do with that, so
And ask for a waiver to take from the planning board regulation, from the approval. Why don't we just remove
with
it?
the walking path is an issue that
The
I,
walking
So
path was
who
in.
gets the liability?
We'll close it up.
so,
Close it up.
No, who get the, no. That's
Well,
what's.
if it's not a walking, it's still an easement.
I'm taking of just taking it out, amending the approval.
I understand what you are saying. So the walking trail, when, I know that we had a site plan review, I was one of the board member. The walking trail, when we did the site plan review, either he has to provide the walking trail or sidewalks,
The
right?
path, or it was,
So he
we
agreed,
waived the sidewalk
instead
requirement.
of the sidewalks, he agreed to the walking trail. This walking trail connects the
To Lawrence.
Prospect Street through this property, going to the Woodland Parks. So now, if you say, if we take out that walking trail, or, who's going to get, if you are not responsible, who is going to be responsible for that?
well, okay, so
Planning-
I think this is a big question. And we can't answer it today. What I would like to, again, for the purposes of moving these other projects forward that are for other boards to be dealing with, what I would like to say, I've got the comments from VHB, which I will add in there, comes up upon review since this is old, something to that effect. I will say the walking path needs to be dealt with. The HOA has to be dealt with, and I know you have the
That's
declaration
all
of trust.
taken.
I know you have it, but it's the part where it's not in the residence deeds because it didn't exist when, and they didn't pay into it and all of that stuff. That I think is, so I'm just gonna put it as an item, cause I'm trying to move this other process forward. That is what I'm willing, and I have comments from the water department. Water department did send us comments back. I have no comments from anybody else. So I'm just saying to you that, again, and all street acceptance things need to be, I don't know what they're gonna say when they do go and look at it. I can't make a
Yeah,
guarantee on that.
I'm okay with VHP inspecting and not telling me what to do. The only issue would be when going for acceptance, what is public work, Does the planning board have authority to tell Public Works to take over?
No, that's not, the idea is that you're going before town meeting. And when you get to town meeting, the planning board will present the article as suggesting or recommending that they accept the road. It really looks terrible if the DPW director stands up and says, this road is crap, it's got problems here, it's got problems there. So that's why in advance of that, we have that DPW director come out and get that person on board so that we're unified, get everything addressed, and then the planning board presents it to town meeting. So that's where we need to get DPW's review as we go down the road. We should have the
As
pavement
far as
work.
Noah Circle, he gave a review initial,
Yeah,
which was all done as per his review, except the paving part. All the punch list items I have taken care already.
Is there an as-built?
So the,
As built is there.
Is as-built and the letter from the engineer?
Yeah, we have everything in place, yeah. We haven't
In
submitted.
place, we don't have it, right?
I don't know,
No.
it's been 8 years.
It's been given to VHP has reviewed it, letter and everything, and the town council has looked at the letter from engineering that been done, all done before, when we had the shed problem and all that stuff, everything was included in that. The only situation is the new punch list, which I haven't seen it. If that's fine with VHP, I like to finish it up in 2 weeks. On Noah Circle. On Westland Circle, I would need some help on the walking trail. Other than that, I think the rest of the stuff is straightforward. I can finish it.
I think your walking trail is gonna need an attorney to look
I
at it.
think that one's gonna be a tough
You
one.
need to
But
hire
I'm,
an
but
attorney.
That's
I,
what all the attorneys are telling. I talked to 2 attorneys. They're telling is it where if the homeowners are not ready to accept as a homeownership thing, you should just ask for a thing to be amended in the planning board approval.
But your approval's
Or
expired.
we have to ask Parks or Public Works, it's the same thing, to accept it and maintain it.
my
If we have-
understanding is they're
Accept
not
it.
interested, the
No,
town
if
is
you
not interested.
accept it, what happens? The town has
Except
to.
what?
Maintain it.
If we,
If
if we
it's
take it
developed
as the
town
town,
land. It's,
I guess we'd have to have easements.
No,
and
we
all
have
that
a
stuff,
easement.
right?
There are easements on it already.
We have a easement already.
Because the water main, Mark.
no, I know,
There's also
I know
one
that the thing is there for, I'm just wondering why, or how you would pull the liability off of the person's property so that it's not there. If somebody slips and falls,
It comes to the town.
but not through an easement. There's no easement of,
Then who is
Liability.
liable?
Liability.
That's why we need an attorney.
yeah.
He needs to have one, review it,
Well, and the
present
town-
something,
the
and then
town
town
has-
council will review it.
And
We
the
do
town has to
review,
be
we
willing to
don't
take
try
it
to-
though,
But none
That's
of
the
the,
problem.
right?
That's
I talked to a
us.
couple of towns, they don't have the stuff like that one in any other.
No, agree,
Right.
but at the same time, your site plan review, whoever came in for the site plan review.
I didn't come.
I know.
No, he bought the
You bought the
project.
property, you acquired the property from that person, that site plan review clearly says that, he accepted it.
I know. But what started couldn't end it that way. That's why I'm saying, can planning board suggest Public Works to take over?
I don't think we
We
can
can
make,
suggest also, we can suggest.
One
that he come
attorney
out and visit
suggested
the
we
site
can
and
give a
visit it.
deed to that,
right.
I don't see it happening. It's-
I don't, I think it is extremely unlikely that the town wants to take that path
No,
on.
the town is, why,
And so-
no, we don't want,
And
the
so,
town may not take a
so how
liability.
how does this move forward? I mean, is really the question. But I don't know that we can address that today. Cause again, what I'm trying to get through, I mean, we're trying to get these streets accepted for October, it's not for May. What we are trying to accomplish here is to
Is to get the Board of
is,
Selectmen's
and
request.
I don't actually know what the select board really needs from us to move forward. Besides, what I hear is, I've got, like I said, I told you what I will do with the new Hot Circle punch list. I can with the, Western Circle, like I said,
That's the only
I can make an official document that has VHB's comments, and I can put the water department's comments in there. And I can say, again, like I'm gonna do with New Ha, make sure the HOA stuff is worked out, make sure, that something must be done with this walking path. And I can say, street acceptance procedures will occur and other things may come up, please be aware. That,
I'm-
that is what I can do. Is that gonna be, I'm sorry, I'm looking at you two, but, cause I know you have two hats, and so, is that
I think
what you need from us?
it's this document that we're preparing.
Right.
And I'm not sure what level of detail that document has. If you send all that, maybe that all goes in there. But I don't want it to be a problem later either, that this document said this and we're changing it. So we have to talk to, again, council or something like that about what the level of detail that document is.
Well, how about I do what I
Yeah,
just said
send
I'm
it,
gonna
'cause-
do?
'cause that doesn't go
I'll
into
send it
any,
off, and I will obviously send it to you and VHB and everybody else and say, here's where we're at.
Yeah,
Do with this what you may need to do, and we'll continue, I mean, again, we're not
Yes,
gonna address this walking trail tonight, so.
I would just put it in there
we
as
just
this
need
needs to be
note that
addressed.
this needs to be
Yeah.
Why I
addressed.
was telling you was,
It's
that's the
basically
only
gonna-
thing which I couldn't resolve, rest of the stuff is
It's
already
basically
resolved.
gonna be a reprise of the email that I sent after the last meeting
Okay. Yeah.
with a document about Westland Circle.
And any updates? I mean,
Like I said, I have the
the
original
water.
thing from VHB, and I have stuff from the water department did write back, and they had some comments, and I will incorporate them into that.
did you find out about that water one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine, I talked to Mike
yeah, I was
and
gonna say, I
everything,
think he was
it's
in-
already in the plans.
Okay,
But,
you don't have to dig up anything and put a different main in or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna
different
add them in
main.
there for, here's the comments.
No, it's something like this has to be an 8-inch main. I'm like, it's late for this news, you know?
That is a 8-inch main.
Okay, well then that's good.
The one thing it bothers me is today. So none of the homeowners are here today. So, I don't know, right? None of the homeowners from Nova.
But we're doing stuff separately from the homeowners. We're talking about this
The
project.
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
they know better than us.
Well, I mean, I think they were
They've
here
been here
last time.
multiple times.
Yeah, I think we're
I think the
aware of where
package
we're
was
at.
discussed with the homeowners and other stuff. How much are you want, do we want to discuss now? Still another year?
Another couple of meetings, couple of people.
I'd really prefer not to, but I'm only gonna be here for one more meeting, so you guys can all have fun with that.
So you're not coming back?
Chair will have to deal with that.
No, she's not running again.
Unfortunately, I have other obligations.
So we have spaces
attend
on
to.
boards if anybody wants to.
I'm here every board meeting, can I
Yeah,
sit
can you
on the
be
board?
on the? You have so many residences in town.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, you gotta live in one of them.
Yes, an apartment.
Okay, so, if that's, I mean, I don't think there's anything more that we can discuss
No,
tonight,
there's
but
nothing
if
magical
everybody's
about it
okay with that, that's what I'm gonna move forward with, I will take care of that tomorrow. And,
The reason, select board was, selecting is because they want this MO done. If it's not done, I can go directly to mass housing and then come back also.
I appreciate
Then I
that.
don't need it.
and I appreciate that, and we appreciate you working with the town 100%.
I want to finish my responsibility, that's what.
Absolutely, we totally appreciate that, so I will, I think that it's maybe an unusual thing for us to be putting this thing together in order for you all to do some other thing,
Right.
but that's okay, we'll make our way through it.
This is what the planning board is suggesting you for 10+ years. Please,
I didn't build,
please it up.
I didn't build that barn. I didn't build that barn on easement.
Okay, alright,
I have to go eat now.
Yeah,
I was
no.
fasting, sorry.
alright,
Great.
no, that's good, okay, anything else on this one? I think we're good,
Thank you.
alright, thank you very much. Okay,
thank you.
20
Good to
Holt
see you.
Street, Mr. McCarthy, thank you for waiting patiently. Okay. Alright, I'm just waiting, do I have other things that's this, this is separate. Okay, so, we got final comments from VHB. I don't know if everybody got to read them, they came in yesterday. They were satisfied with
saw the one
everything they
come
had on their
in.
list. What's up?
They were satisfied with it, okay. that's-
Everything that was on their
They
list?
said that it sounded like everything was okay. The question, they hadn't actually looked at things. They said that towns, somebody said, town and agents looked at things to verify it. That was the phrase that he used, so I don't, it was
Well-
odd. Usually he says, we were out there, we looked at it, everything's fine. But he used some other phrase. because I just looked at it quickly.
Who was it from? Wayne?
Yeah, it's from,
It was Wayne.
It was from Wayne.
I mean, yesterday.
he, yeah, so basically what he says is,
Okay.
Brian and Wayne, this is from Wayne, reviewed the updated as-built plan submitted to the planning board on April sixth. Compared the 10 items identified on VHB's attached marked up comment plan dated to 27/23, which is when they were out there, right? Didn't they come out there then? Based on our review of these two plans, VHB believes that the 10 items identified on 2/27 have been updated. And there were, and discussed in the attached engineering certification letter dated 4/6.
Can you just read it and not
Ad-
interpret?
Additionally, VHB believes many, if not all, of these items have been visually confirmed to be completed in the field by a member of the town staff. Please feel free to call with any additional questions. And then there's the attachments.
Okay.
What does
Did he
it-
do a review?
What does it mean, town staff?
So what happened was, they came out and did their review. And then there was 3 additional items that needed to be completed.
What are those?
Put up a stop sign, the 2-foot extension of the asphalt, and then the removal of the asphalt on the abutting property.
Are
Right.
those done?
And I was gonna say,
All 3?
Yep, and they're reflected on the as-built and have been reviewed by George in the field.
I was just gonna say, I think we've got
Yeah.
we've got our building inspector here. And the only other thing that I knew about, from the fire chief was the number on the street
I
being
have the picture of my
visible.
truck.
So
go
we
grab
can,
it.
I don't know, George,
Can
if
we
you
see
got,
it?
if you got to confirm that too, but yeah, you can bring a picture. Those were the outstanding items.
Okay, fine. George, would you like to say something?
No, I made all those measurements and the asphalt was larger than, necessary, so he's over by a couple of inches, so everything's fine.
Okay.
He did cut the asphalt, I was okay with it, leaving a section of it back on there, but I guess it wasn't acceptable by the board, so I guess he cut it further back.
A little bit further back.
I haven't been out to see that, but prior to that, I saw everything's fine.
Oh, and let me check and the fire chief, so we specifically asked the fire chief to look
He
at
did
that.
come out.
Yeah,
I
I
met
was
him
gonna
on
say,
site.
cause
He made a
we didn't
comment.
realize there were steps there, and so we were like, oh, no, we hope we have not messed up something else by asking this question. So let me see what I have from him.
There was an old one from the fire chief about
I have
snow
a photo.
storage.
Get that for you.
Good.
And if excitement for you.
When was the fire chief?
Thanks for coming.
There we go.
Do you know when the fire chief sent an email? Did you get the email from the fire chief?
I did not
You
get
know
it,
what?
no.
He did actually, well, whatever. He went out to Weston Circle. It's just that he put them all in one email. And
No,
I do have some comments from fire chief for Weston Circle. So I will have those also.
We're done with that line.
They're just, yeah,
line's
he
done.
just, he put them all in one thing, that's all. Let's see.
Is that the email where he had the number and the snow storage? That's
There was
all?
that, hang on, let me see where, because I specifically,
Has VHB been out since you sent them this email on Thursday?
No.
Last Thursday, okay.
Okay, there is a fire chief email, 3/28/23. Thank you very much, Mark.
that's
Is
what
this
he's
he?
probably saying.
Fire chief, that's his name. His name is Mark.
20 holes is the snow removal issue was noted at our last meeting.
Oh, okay, sorry, then I haven't
The
seen that.
developer reported that he had a new plow person and would speak to them.
Oh, this is Sarah's email.
That is Sarah's email, okay. No.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark, saying
Okay,
thank you for the
Okay,
response.
let's, Mark Skadowski to Sarah and the planning board, it was on 3/27/23. Sarah, on Friday, I visited 3 subdivisions that you have had forwarded to me last week. The only few notes on each one, here are the 20 Hole Street, we will stay with only the 20 Hole Street. There are for, some are for Newa and Westland. The only outstanding item for the fire department is they need to add a numerical address for the complex, which I think you accomplished. A point of concern is that they are piling the plowed snow in the vehicle maneuvering area, which was supposed to be kept clear, and the snow was to be plowed to the snow retention area. This is restricting the area there and defeating the purpose of having it. So that was the thing. So you will be taking care of that.
Yeah, we discussed that the last meeting.
So the asphalt behind the plasma was being cut while we were there to maintain the setback requirements for the property line. We left a period to the completion, so I cannot attest to the final result. I think that's what building inspector is attesting to it.
And the as-built is updated to show that.
Great, great.
One more question. Have you seen the as-built, Josh?
Have I seen the as-built, this latest one, no.
Okay. You have any comments, Vinnie?
Yeah, the only things, at the last meeting, you were gonna submit a sketch of what was gonna be proposed in that area where you cut the asphalt and how you're gonna treat it?
Well, you were asked, and I said, I just don't have we don't have any idea what we were doing there, so we have no plan
So you
yet.
will be keeping it a
So it's not gonna
cut area, right?
Yeah.
So you won't be filling it, we won't be putting grass on it?
I don't know. I thought maybe some mulch, some flowers, maybe some bushes. I might loam and seed it, I just don't know yet.
Right, we were looking for something to make it so it's not drivable, so it's not.
The asphalt's gone. It's not
Right,
parkable.
But it's gravel, so it's like a gravel parking area. So that's why what I had said at the last meeting was like put in 6 inches or 4 inches of loam and seed it. And you were okay, and you said, well, maybe I can put some plants, maybe I can put some mulch. I said, well, give me a sketch and we'll talk about it. And I haven't seen a sketch. Is
The
that not
sketch
the
is
way
the
it is?
as-built,
At the last
that's,
meeting, we didn't need the sketch.
Okay, there's just one second.
We
Oh,
did?
I'm sorry.
One at a
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
so I just thought the as-built would satisfy that it's been removed, and that was all that was put on the plan.
Yeah, it looks like it just says gravel area, edge of pavement,
Right.
edge of pavement, edge of pavement.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be a gravel parking area, which was what we don't want parking within the setback. So however you wanna do it, like I said, however you wanna keep from having parking going in there is fine. But I haven't seen how you're planning on doing it.
Well, I was told to remove the pavement, and that's what we did because it was on the plan. That's what I was told. Because I wrote it on the plan to remove the pavement, that's what I had to do. I wasn't given any other requirements.
That's true, the plan didn't specify what
Right.
We talked about it at the last meeting.
was gonna go there.
It was brought up, what was I gonna do there? And then it said, maybe you could put possible loam and seed or something. And I just said, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and that's where we're at. But the asphalt has been removed.
So,
Just, yeah, hang on.
so the one thing is, are you going to turn into that gravel area as a parking area? I'm asking it in an open question.
It was never a parking area all these years. It's never been a parking area.
Okay.
So it's never been used as parking,
Does
ever.
that satisfy you?
I've never been in back there.
So is this satisfy you?
Is what satisfied me.
That
The
it's,
asphalt's gone?
that it's
In an
gone.
open meeting,
It's,
in an open meeting, he promises he's not going to make it as a.
right, but he also came to the meeting in November saying everything was all done and we're still here in March.
Well, let's.
Past is past.
okay.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's,
Yeah.
so that's what you're
Okay.
asking.
All right.
You're asking me
I
to
totally
believe
agree.
it now, so I still
totally
don't.
agree.
So that's why I wanted to have something
So
on.
like the chair says, we have to move on at some point.
Right,
Absolutely.
we really,
So
yes, we have
put
to
it to
move
a
on at
vote.
some point.
Because she's moving on at some point.
Yeah,
Right.
well, that is definitely true,
So
whether
how
these
is
things
it?
move on or not.
20 volts.
So from my perspective, I will just say, I mean, the pavement is gone, the number there, VHB is satisfied.
Well, it's VHB Center, usually, once they get an as-built and that letter, they do the comparison. They
They've
go,
already
That's
done
what
it.
they,
That's what they
that's what,
emailed
that's
us.
what I just read off.
I think they have.
I did read that.
They did their analysis.
but without
Yeah.
a visit. Do they visit?
They had already done their visit. There's only three small
Because they
items.
were out
And
there
they heard that they
just,
were, okay, all right. I mean, that's usually the,
One was just a stop sign, one was just a visual
they,
that the
they were small
asphalt was
things,
cut.
and, and VHB is also extremely busy, so
they were
they're
okay. Okay. Well,
trying
they're-
to, they're
if
trying to
saying-
fit in
And
as
every-
much as
I
they
agree
can
that
for us.
everything is minor.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't see why we can't get mulch or grass growing in that area. It's just,
Why don't you
there's-
just say
I don't know
you're
why
gonna
it isn't being just done.
just put,
Well, I mean, one thing at a time. I had to get the asphalt ripped out. I just had to, I
Yeah.
didn't plan on that, so.
So what is your plan?
yeah.
I just told you, I don't have one. I don't know. I'm not sure what you want me to say
parking?
here.
How about
You
no
want me to put
parking
mulch
signs?
down there? Is that what you're asking me to do, is put mulch down? Is that where we're going here? Put down 2 yards of mulch? Is that, are you asking for that?
If that's what you're proposing, that's fine.
Actually,
Just
I don't
put
even think-
I'm not
something.
proposing
Make an
anything.
order, tell him, put down 2 yards of mulch.
No, I don't think it's to
That
do
was the-
something,
that's the
it's to
problem.
make the drawing so that it can't
That's
be
why we're
something
looking for
else.
So just say that, put down 2 yards of mulch, he's gonna say, yes, 2 yards of mulch are going in tomorrow, and done.
My opinion is I was just trying to satisfy the zoning bylaw in the site plan that I was being held to. And that's what I did. I
Right.
don't have any further information.
Okay, fine.
I don't need
I also
mulch
don't
to
have
be
the,
put down right there at this time in order to move forward with this, in my opinion.
Right now it says gravel
That's-
area and
The
So-
pavement got removed,
The-
so I feel good about that.
I think, one of the members, in the planning board, we don't want to turn into that gravel area as a parking.
Of course, no, I totally understand.
That's
I
the-
understand
that
where
is
we're at.
That is the underlying, question here. That is the underlying,
well, do you,
Well, so Raj, do you have a suggestion
Would a
for
solution-
what he should do?
would a solution be to put up no parking signs that say no parking in the gravel area? Because they do have an easement to pass and repass. So they could say they can park up to here, but they could turn around in there.
So I think, but so typically, I think.
But that's
you
just a
know-
sign.
Okay,
That's
wait. What we know should have happened at different times. If you wanted to change the plan, you should have come ahead of time, right, and said. So I think what we might be looking for here is for you to say, I would like to do this thing. And we will say, yes, that works for us.
Okay, I'm gonna put some mulch down there.
great.
Great, I like that. Is that acceptable to everybody?
What's gonna happen to the drawing?
I mean, there's
The
nothing on,
asphalt's
it doesn't
removed.
specify anything on the drawing, it just has the pavement removed.
That's true. It just says gravel area and a whole bunch of edge of pavement, fine.
So. I don't think it's not, like, I don't think it's wrong, I don't think the drawing is wrong, right? I mean,
Mark,
I guess the drawing is not wrong, but it doesn't prevent parking.
Mark, at this stage, let it go.
right.
I had enough on
Get
this
some
project.
mulch or something in there so it's
Yes.
stabilized and
He-
so they're
he's
hopefully not gonna drive on
he's
it.
proposing that he put mulch there, and I think that is great, I would approve that.
Okay.
That we have to vote
Okay,
on that, do we have to vote on that?
Somebody can make a
Vote.
motion?
Do we need to vote?
No,
I
it's
don't
just,
think
it's just
so
done.
on a
It's
motion,
just-
yeah.
That gets done and when
That's
it's,
it?
well then, yeah, and when it's done, they come back and say it's
Oh,
all
well,
done.
that's not a
No.
condition of the.
No.
No, that was never a condition, and in fact, the last meeting, I specifically asked, no, please,
Hold
sir.
on,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Yeah,
So let's finish up this project
Finish
today.
it now, good.
Yeah, so let's take, what kind of motions we need to make today? If we have to finish up this project, complete the project. Mulch, he said he's taking care of it.
can we?
So,
Yeah, what do we?
I don't want that mulch things to go on a asphalt.
Right,
The cut path is there, it is fine. If the mulch, he promised me it reflects in the minutes. If he doesn't do it, so in the future,
If it doesn't do it, then I will tell you, you could then bring him into court for a violation
So we-
of the order.
Of,
Yeah,
inches
absolutely,
of mulch.
absolutely, yes, and I believe, I'm not sure if West Boylston is, I know in some towns, that violation is a criminal offense, I'm not sure if it is here in West Boylston. So I've had the necessity to look at it, but so, you do have the sword of Damocles over his head for his mulch.
I
We
think
don't
that
want
is, yes, I think that is certainly unnecessary, because actually Mr. Linkarski has gone ahead and done everything that we asked him to do, pretty
let's
much
make the motion.
immediately, as it's been clarified. So, the pavement
don't-
got removed, the extra got removed, based on what you said at the last meeting, that got removed, so,
Whatever the name.
yes, so, but, the motion is,
What is the
To-
wordings for the motion? This
Is
is the
it
big
to-
one, right?
is it to recommend a certificate
You don't
of
know?
completion?
No, it's to complete the project, and we write up our document, which I do not have, and we sign our document, isn't that,
Right,
isn't
No,
that?
hold on, hold on.
is
it's
that
been a
the
long time
permit?
since we had one.
How do we do the motion? Tell me.
No, you guys are in charge of it.
No, the signing the document, that's already been done, because he already has that,
Which document?
the
No,
permit.
it's the completion
We
part.
should know how to do this.
I don't remember. We never do it.
It is true that we have not gotten to too many completions. I haven't Written-
said any of the.
I have
things.
written one, no, cause I have had, because
It's a
when Vinny
recommendation for a
doesn't,
certificate of
completion.
Completion,
right?
yes.
Okay,
It's
why
a
don't we make the
recommendation.
motion?
Isn't that what I said? That's
Please,
not what I said.
make the motion.
What?
No, make the motion for this project.
You make the motion.
I don't know the exact wordings. If I will know it, I will make the motion.
The-
How about
it
you
is-
move
it
that the
is-
project be declared complete, and that the final occupancy permits be issued?
I believe that it is a motion
No.
that for the 20 Holt Street project, it is a motion to recommend a certificate of completion be issued for the 20 Holt Street project,
With the condition
with the condition
that you complete the mulching.
that they complete the mulching. Right, that's the
So
condition.
is that the motion?
That's the
I
motion,
second-
but I
I
can't
second
make
the
it because
motion.
I'm the
You can
chair.
make-
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Frank.
You're-
This
I'll
is-
make the motion of
You
completion
recuse-
at 20, yeah, but I can start a motion.
Yeah.
And then recuse myself.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
No,
you
you
can't, you can't,
But
sorry.
I don't know why it's so
Just
hard
so-
to make a
Hold
motion.
on,
So-
Frank. It's okay, hold on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, make the motion, Mark.
So
Well,
moved. It's the last-
Did you write down what she wrote?
And then,
So I'm gonna say so
You're
moved.
all set.
Second.
Don't get into trouble.
For 20 Holt Street.
We have a motion and second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No, wait, are you saying?
You're abstaining, right?
I'm recusing, yes.
Yeah, he's not, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, are you on the nay side? Cause I don't know if Vinny, or if Melanie heard it, which is fine.
No, we're getting the mulch and it's,
Okay,
he's
we're moving
not gonna be
forward.
driving
Great.
or parking in there, so.
All right,
It's
I
stuck
wasn't,
in mulch.
That was.
I just didn't quite
And
get it.
this,
All
you
right,
can
great,
see
it's unanimous.
marks. in the
When he
mulch.
said yes,
So what I'm saying.
He said yes.
You're gonna put the
Vinny said
Okay.
yes.
then you
It's
know.
stuck.
That's it.
That motion
'Cause it's gonna be
carries.
gravel underneath.
Thank you.
What would have happened in a 2-2 split?
Motion
Failed.
denied.
Oh, it's
Hey.
denied. You have to come back for another vote?
It's done.
Right.
Be happy.
I was just very
We
curious.
are
as to
happy.
how-
That is one of the reasons why you don't want an abstaining member.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So-
Be happy.
Paul, we do have to hold you to, for some money, cause there's some invoices.
Yeah, and I have some stuff for you guys too. I have some as-built copies. I have the signed plan that you guys gave me, that I have to give back
Wait,
to you
do
guys.
you wanna be on the board?
I have copies of the signed plan if you want. I have everything here, so what?
When can he get his certificate of occupancy so he can close that last unit?
We just voted it and.
No,
So I get a
no.
letter from you folks.
The-
We need to send a letter, but we don't send a.
That's the process,
I
okay,
can go ahead and do that.
that's fine.
Thank you. I just want to, you get,
So,
it's not to stop you. I don't want you to get the pressure up. That's why I said, please wait.
Just,
Let's-
we're trying
yeah,
to get there. We're trying to
Sorry
get
about
there.
that.
No, no,
Very sorry
no,
about
no,
Thank you.
no, no,
Thank you
no.
just to clarify, can I get issued a temporary occupancy on that unit?
Actually,
No,
you know
they
what, Paul, it's probably, I assume, what, a couple of days, a week, something like that?
For the-
You need to, if you read the approval letter says we won't issue it until we get payment. So we need to get all the bills, which I
Okay.
sent you something
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. all the bills need to be
That's
paid, and then there's, I think that's the only outstanding one, but it's in the approval.
I did bring money up to,
I'm thinking by the end of the month, first
Well, if
couple of
you-
days into May,
We'll
we
fix
should be
it.
ready.
Do we
No,
have,
if you have the money, give it to Melanie.
We should be ready to go.
we still need town council bills.
Yeah, I asked they when, how often they get them, but I haven't heard back from them.
Yeah, and I asked about that too, but
So then we-
I got nothing on
So we
that.
can try to figure out how much that is, and then have some set
Well,
aside,
you
and
can
then
always
give it
pay
back.
over and we
At
can
the-
give
at that
back
time.
whatever.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then, but
I
we
don't
also
know,
need,
I don't have an
I
estimate
will
on
tell the
that,
board, like the last time, I have an extension to the end month on that last unit. You know,
It's not in our
If it
hand.
bleeds a couple of days into May, probably okay, but let's.
It's not in our hand, it's in his
I
hand right
understand,
now.
I understand, but let's,
we voted
let's all
today.
work for that.
So it's not the board responsibility, it's in his hand. He has to work fast, he has to finish up
That I'm
whatever
not
the
worried
loose
about.
ends.
So
That's
who
about
is
it.
doing the,
as-built
we
plan? Do we
have,
have an electronic version of it?
Yes.
we have the electronic version of it and the
we have
engineer
the
certification. Yep.
Electronic signed plans?
Yeah.
We sent it, do you have those?
I sent those last week
No,
or
remember,
two.
we couldn't, which
The
signed by
approved-
us?
Yes, our signed plans.
We remember, well, we have
signed
them,
them.
we signed them,
Sent
but
them
we
to you.
couldn't, they couldn't be recorded because they sent them back. They
They're
said-
not in recordable form, but what I did, Vinnie, was I went to a print
And
shop,
we all
had them
said-
scan it, and then I emailed you the
Oh, right, so
electronic
it's not
copies.
recorded, so we
Yeah, it
want.
was not
We
recorded,
need the
but we got-
electronic.
So
Yeah.
if you need to record it, don't you need another?
No, where, he's gonna record the final
As-
as built, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay. Are those signed?
Those are generated in
Those are
whatever format
not
they like.
signed yet, cause we all need the,
Final as-built, we don't sign.
You don't
we
say.
don't sign it.
I'm gonna record those, so I just wanna just be clear, so that the issues that are left for me is, to record my as-built and give you proof of that, and some final accounting for VHB and some town council bills.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Which
is.
we just.
Well, I'm just gonna,
Just gonna pay over.
I'll give it over, and then we'll do a final accounting. Is that where we're at?
And mulch, let's
And
not forget mulch.
Right.
And the mulch, and we,
write the
and we
letter.
on our
the
side have
council
to
fee.
do the letter, right?
We have to make a recommendation.
We have to make a recommendation letter. Is it just me that signs it, or is everybody
It
have to sign
wasn't
it?
part of the motion, so we all have to do it, otherwise it wouldn't be.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know
that's,
that anyone's gonna.
I'm happy
complain,
to
but-
sign it.
yeah, no, I don't think it's probably sign, I'm just trying to coordinate like what
Yes,
has
so
to
we need
actually
sign it.
happen.
Yep.
Everybody has to sign it. Who's gonna write it?
I could try to write it.
It's not that hard, I've done it before.
I was just looking for one on,
You have one.
When Vinny, most of the time when Vinny is not able to do the thing, then I have done the thing, which is,
I think we have them too.
yeah.
are they online?
I have
No.
I have a couple of them.
Okay.
They're in old
Okay.
emails. Why, if you
They're
look under-
not, they're not
I have
posted?
them in my files.
Not yet, we're
Okay.
talking about doing that,
Okay,
getting
I-
all the
I-
approvals, plans, and all that
that
stuff.
would be terrific.
I got
Hold on.
some templates though.
It takes longer time.
We have to set up the website to do it.
Well, or modify ours to do
Right, right.
Modify, adjust the website, because right now all we have is the decisions.
Right.
And then we wanna have decisions, and then, plans, and then approvals, or
Approvals and completions.
final
and-
completion.
Yeah,
as.
That's his letter?
Yep.
With the pictures?
perfect.
I don't know if that one does, I actually didn't even look.
Oh, that's the,
Here's the
That's the
Mylar
one
that I'm
that's
gonna
able to be-
record, I got two Mylars.
Yep, here are
It might
pictures.
not be big enough.
Stop
for the site.
trying.
It might be what he's-
Walls,
Street.
concrete.
You guys want me
That's
to get
probably
copies?
the same.
oh, we do. Were you gonna separate them or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a copy,
So, Paul, this is newly installed, yes, right? Like this
after I
is
talk to the fire chief.
after you talk, yeah,
That was it, per his direction.
yep.
And that's the location and the size that he's looking at?
He said, he gave me multiple locations, multiple options, and that was, 4-inch opposing colors on the front, so you can see from the street, and it's the closest point to the road.
So that's good, I just wasn't sure if they needed something more.
Here's your wet copy that you guys signed, the
Right.
original ink. Here is a copy of the as-built, here's a
And the
copy
letter.
of the letter. I
Take that
have,
with it.
if you want multiple copies of any of this, I have them right now. How many do you want?
Melanie.
You don't want any more?
How many as-bills should we have?
Oh, does George want one of his own? You
I'm
want?
gonna deal with George after
Oh,
this.
did that? Okay.
I have enough for everyone.
You can file, but I don't have.
We don't give any to the as-bills to DPW?
I do need to give one to DPW unless you wanna do it. I was gonna do it myself.
We should have one to the town clerk, that's gonna be
Town
another
clerk,
way to do
yes.
them, because believe it or not, when you just change that to, less paper copies, when I send it out electronically now, everyone's like, well, can we still get a paper copy? So.
How many would you like? I have a bunch. I can
You
leave-
have like about 8 of them,
8 of the as-built?
yeah, and then I can just give one to everybody.
It's gonna be close.
Take a Mylar.
We just downgrade our number of copies in our
Yeah.
bylaw, and now we're gonna have to ask for more of them.
We still use paper promises, so I get it.
Poor Ali was fasting. I haven't eaten since lunch. And I'm hungry.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Have to wait till May 11th.
Okay.
That's right.
Awesome.
No. Oh, yeah.
8 copies. How about the original site plan? Do you guys want another copy of that?
I'm signed up.
Yep.
The
Just sign.
original plan, no. We got the signed plans, so that's all that matters.
So here are your as-built for whoever. 8 copies.
And yeah, this,
Good.
Okay, so.
it's almost like art. You can frame it and put it up in your house.
Good. Good. Is it a dartboard?
I know a fair number of builders who do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I will be waiting to hear back from the board, so George can have a final. You can issue the final, I can,
Right. I guess you've gotta confirm the money in.
tomorrow.
Melanie can confirm that, I guess. if
You
you-
have to get off the thing, maybe you can, must have some bills from before.
So I just gave the town clerk like $2,000 a week and a half ago or
Yeah,
something.
that's, everything so far, I mean, I can give you the accounting that I do, though that latest bill, there wasn't enough to pay that. So, whatever you gave me, it's already been paid.
It might be the invoice hasn't
So
come
the
in.
bill wise, talk to Melanie, CS accounts, very clean accounts. So
I'm just
Yep,
gonna front load
that's
the
right.
account and you can just give me back what's
If
left.
they say yes, we will do that.
We just gotta make sure town council gets us, because they're notorious as being 6 months later and we
Yeah, I
get
know.
something.
And then it's just sitting
Do
there.
you bill late?
So I guess
Do you
what
bill
was,
late?
No.
He's on overtime.
I guess what
I
you're
have to
saying
tell you
is,
this for long ago.
It may be
I've
sitting
been in
there for a
business for
while,
about
Paul.
40 years.
So we get the
Long,
bill.
long ago, I
it
learned
may be sitting
two-
there for a
two
while until we
rules.
get the bill from
is one,
town council.
if
As
you
long as I can get
bill,
my permit.
you
I don't
may
mind
not
waiting
get paid.
Yep.
To let that
But if you
stuff.
don't bill, you won't get paid. So now I bill every
Make sure.
month.
Okay.
Usually the first week of the month, we get bills out.
All right,
Alright.
great,
Thank
thank
you.
you all,
Good
thank you
luck.
all.
All done?
Thank you. We're all done.
Excellent.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Where are we at? We're right at the end. Invoices to be paid.
Yes.
Oh, no, wait, we were coming back to the Quinnapoxet Dam, sorry.
Damn, we're not there.
There's not much about it, except that they're tearing it down. So I asked questions about, the power station that's right next door. The light plant says that in fact it's operational, but for some reason, whoever runs it is selling the power to National Grid, not to them. They're trying to get that back, so it'd be, consumed in town.
And that's
And-
something, if the select board wants to get involved, I think it's MWRA who operates it.
It's owned by and operated by and all sorts of different things, I don't know. There's all sorts of signs on the front of the building.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
And
MWRA.
And then there was no good answer to, if they take down the dam, does that raise the level or lower the level of the river
No.
here and there?
Well, yes, it's gonna raise and lower for that stretch
Yeah.
from where it starts, that's what the plans showed. They showed steps to go up so that they don't have to have a ladder to go over a 8-foot jump, so it goes up in steps.
Now, or,
Now there's a dam.
right, but there's a fish ladder,
curved
isn't there?
dam. Yeah, which doesn't really work,
Oh, it doesn't, okay,
right?
okay. I was looking at the drawings and I couldn't tell which way they were going, if they're the cross or if they were going upstream,
Yep.
I mean,
Well, it was there, it showed that it goes up to the old pool where the top of the dam is, and then it goes down.
Where is
and
the road?
the water running
Where
isn't
is
gonna
it?
change?
In, River Road?
It's at the
If
end
you
of
go
River
in
Road.
the,
River Road, right, River Road.
if you go in River Road, it's the end of River Road, that
There
building
is
on
a-
the
yeah, I
right,
know,
which
I know.
you can't go in there,
Yeah.
but that's where the power and
So
those
they are
stuff
going
comes
to
out.
remove it?
That's staying there, but there's a dam.
Thanks, George.
If you go down the rail trail,
Uh-huh.
and you get about, I think it's 3/4 of a mile in, there's a marker, and there's a trail that goes down to the left,
Uh-huh.
and that gets you to the far side of the river, the Quinnapoxet River,
Uh-huh.
and that's where that's the far side of the dam, and that dam is gonna get taken out, and the area is gonna get regraded and planted, and have access from that side down, as well as, I think, another area for fishing and things.
Yeah.
Boylston.
That's down in Oakdale?
Oakdale, yes.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
Okay, bills,
Yep, we've got bills. We're signing and
it's 9:30, your baby is, maybe,
that's all right.
hopefully, so.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm sure she'll be fine. All right, so we got, this one is for, this is the one we're holding for payment. We're signing, and Melanie is holding.
Right.
Soon well, I think we only
All
need
we need
one
is
now.
Yep.
So I'll just sign them. This one's trying to,
No, this should go with that stuff.
Yes.
yep. This goes here. And this one is 54 Century Drive. Okay, so those are all good to go.
Oh,
That's the Century Drive project, which I don't know when. Are they coming for a
Have we
public
got
meeting?
reports from VHB on that? That's a
That's in
subdivision
May.
road, so we want them
they did send something.
That's in May.
I thought I saw-
this spring?
I don't know, I saw something.
Did you decide that was only
All
one
right.
signature?
So,
No, only one second.
our next meeting is May 10th. Vinnie, will you do the markup of these, the
Yes.
bylaws? Thank you. I will work on the new Hot Weston Circle thing. You are doing the
Deal and a half.
Leonard, send me the template
recommendation.
though.
I will send you, it's,
couldn't find
this one's actually, these ones
Short.
are easier
Yeah,
than,
they're
So
half a
May,
page.
it's like, yeah, it's
May
much easier.
10th is definite, no, nothing in April then?
Definite,
For
we
the
don't,
Second,
No.
there's nothing to, based on what happened here,
Okay.
there's nothing lingering, so
Gotcha.
we're okay.
If there is something, we can always have a meeting,
I guess what I
Let's
would
not
say
push
is,
for it. We
let-
don't wanna have one.
right. What I
Gotcha.
would say is if something was necessary, I would try to hold it on that fourth Wednesday that we,
gotcha.
so keep that in your.
Do we want to do Zooms or in-persons?
I was intending to do it in person for the last couple, just cause, we can do it. I do love that, Wayne could have been here, if we had done hybrid. So I don't know what the deal is there, where like we could.
No, hybrid is not going as nicely as we want, but it'll get there.
I haven't run a hybrid meeting. If y'all want me to be a guinea pig on doing it, I'll be happy to do it in the next one.
Can we do
If
hybrid?
we can, not here, I think we'd have to do it in
Upstairs they can.
the upstairs room.
We're here and then there's a meeting.
Oh, which we can't do because we have a public hearing. We already said that it was
On
gonna
that
be
next one,
here
that's
probably.
right. But other meetings we
So-
could.
What's
So-
the public hearing next?
Century Drive.
That's the Century Drive one.
Oh, the site plan reviews? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that one at all. So at any rate,
We could move up there, or this could get good enough to do it, I'm not sure.
Or just do it Zoom?
so I think that's really the well, no, because we probably advertised as not Zoom for the public hearing. So we can't,
Let's do it in
I-
person,
well,
we didn't because
Oh,
we,
you know
let's
what?
do it
I don't
here.
even know, when you say that now, I'll have to check that Century Drive because
You might have
that's
done,
good to do for Maine. I don't think, I was so concentrating on Shrine that I'm not even sure
I don't know
if
if,
it says Zoom or not, so it might be advertised as Zoom.
well, I
Check
guess
that
we'll do,
tomorrow.
so the line
I'll
is
send it to
maybe
you.
in person, maybe Zoom, to be determined, watch for the
As
agenda.
posted.
As posted, yes, to be determined, watch for the agenda.
okay, motion to adjourn?
Thank you, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Motion, meeting, that's what I want to say.